Are gonna get crazy.
Most everyone's mad here.
Bonjour, 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 and welcome to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I hope you are all doing well today, and I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I actually had a very relaxing one. It was one of those days where I just needed a break, and, you know, I think it did pay off. It actually did feel pretty nice. But let me tell you, throughout the week, we definitely had a whole bunch of interesting stories. Even though they're not necessarily animation related, a lot of them definitely do fit in the craziness. So much so that I knew that this week, I could not be alone for this one. Yes, I actually do have a guest star with me, and well, this is actually more someone that has already appeared in this podcast before, a good old buddy of mine, who is also a bit of a historian themselves. And we will talk a little bit more into that later, but with all that said, I would like to say, please welcome back to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, Tyler! Tyler, what's up, my dude?
Yep, how you doing?
Well, I'm actually pretty good. And by the way, I know this is more of a coincidence more than anything, but I have noticed that right behind you, you got your Bell memorabilia, and it's actually pretty perfect considering that as we are recording this on November 22nd, this actually does officially mark as the 30th anniversary of Disney's masterpiece, Beauty and the Beast, which honestly, in my opinion, is the perfect Disney princess movies and one of my favorite Disney films, like honestly right just under Fantasia. Like it truly is a beautiful feature.
Oh yeah, I honestly I didn't even remember what day it was. I thought it was tomorrow. I was like, I saw your tweet, went, oh well, that's perfect.
Exactly. And there have been like several things also at the same time that has happened recently. Just want to also have a quick mention about the unfortunate passing of Will Ryan, who used to be a president for ASIFA, the big animation organization, as well as he is also very well known to be the voice, I believe the original voice of Petrie from The Land Before Time, as well as several voices, including Pete and Willie the Giant in Mickey's Christmas Carol. So just want to have a quick comment on that, and may he rest in peace.
Yes, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, just one more quick mention. I'm not going to fully cover it, but it is also worth mentioning that today, DreamWorks Animation did actually announce that there is going to be a Trolls 3 that is coming out on November of 2023. So, Tyler, I'm sure you're excited for that.
Oh boy, that last one, that world tour sure hooked me.
Yeah, I mean, I find like World Tour was okay, but like I did not ask for a third one. Honestly, it's like I just look at it. It's like, really, DreamWorks, you had nothing else going on.
I'm just imagining some producer going, look, we got the dailies. It's making money. More. We need to get making more of these.
Although I gotta say, it is actually quite impressive that they were still able to make money with Trolls World Tour. Because keep in mind, that was actually the first movie that said, screw movie theaters, we're just gonna go directly to digital.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny. I think I talked about that last time I was on the podcast.
Crap, are you serious?
I think that actually was one of the stories.
Oh,
I think I said something along the lines of, I bet you know, other studios I think will start doing this in the future. Boy, was I right about that.
Oh my god, wow. Oh, so it truly is perfect timing with everything that's been going on.
Yeah, DreamWorks is a trendsetter. By accident.
Who knew? All right. But anyways, with that said, Tyler, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast?
Absolutely.
Oh, beautiful. Now, Chadwell, I would like to go and ask you, are you ready for today's AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you all prepared for this? Let me see now. Are people prepared in the chat wall? Let's see. Yes, yes. That is beautiful. That's what I love to see. All right. So I think with that said, it is now time that we are officially going to go and get things started. And with our first one, we're going to talk about one of the biggest trailers that came out last week. Of course, it's not the biggest trailer, considering that title would have to go to Spider-Man No Way Home, which I'm sure a lot of people are very much excited. And even for someone like me, I will admit, I've never seen any of the MCU Spider-Man movies yet, but that third one, oh boy, that even got me pretty excited right there.
Mm-hmm. No, I have a lot to say about that one.
But that's not going to be the one that we will be talking about, though. What we will be getting into is actually the next Pixar movie, which may not necessarily be Lightyear, but already has a lot of people talking about it. And with that said, let's go right ahead and take a look at the trailer for Pixar's upcoming feature film, Turning Red.
Let's go. I'm Maylin Lee. I wear what I want, say what I want, 24/7, 365. I know, it's a lot. But I don't got time to mess around. All about that hustle, am I right? Poor town. This is gonna be the best year ever. And nothing's gonna get in my way. All right.
Mamie, breakfast is ready.
Coming.
It's gonna be me. Is everything okay?
I'm a gross red monster. Don't look at me. Stay back.
This happened already?
What did you say?
Our ancestors had a mystical connection with red pandas.
Are you kidding me?
This little quirk runs in our family. You're so cute.
Sick. I've always wanted a tail.
I'm a freak.
We love you, May.
You're our girl. Whoa.
You're you.
Any strong emotion
Yes.
will release the panda.
Abby, hit me.
Do you know how dangerous this is? You'll get whipped up into a frenzy and panda all over.
OMG! My whole life I've been perfect little May May. But maybe I like this new me.
Mama's girl.
It's gonna be me.
And that was Turning Red, in which that movie is going to be coming out in March of 2022. So, Tyler, do you have any, whoops, wrong button. Do you have any opinions on what you just saw?
Well, first off, I can see that the animation style from Luca is going to get some good mileage.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, one thing that I will say, like probably more so than Luca, in terms of the animation, this is like the most anime looking CG movie that is not made in Japan. Like they really did nail that anime style, especially like with the facial expressions of the characters like May and her friends. So yeah, one thing I will agree with you. Yeah, like with the Luca style that they've developed for that movie, like they're really gonna expand on that with this one.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't hate that style. I mean, although I always thought that the mouths were always a little bit weird in Luca, this a little bit lesser extent, but it's a good art style. I'm fine with that. Also, it's set in Canada. I think that's a first for Pixar.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And one thing that is actually kind of like a funny Easter egg, like they already mentioned before that this is going to be a movie set in Toronto. But one thing I will say that is actually very cute is I think it's like during the scene when like May turns into a giant red panda, you actually do see with the parents, where is it? Just want to have like a quick close up of like the parents' reaction. Not that one. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's right here. Like, you'll probably notice, like, while they're having their breakfast, they actually do have a box of Tim Hortons. So really, like, it's going to be one of those movies where, yeah, it is set in Canada, but they'll try to make the most of, like, push in, like, subtle nods and references to the fact that it is set in Canada, which, honestly, as a Canadian myself, I'm actually excited to see.
That's pretty cute, because the closest equivalent was, like, I think it was a Disney film that like edited in like a Canadian like broadcasters for like one scene.
Yes, that is a Zootopia.
Oh, but that was it. That was it.
Yeah, it was Zootopia. Yeah, it's Zootopia because in I believe, well, at least in the English North American version, or at least the English version in general, they have a well-known CBC anchor, Peter Mansbridge, and they brought him in to be the voice of the moose anchor.
Even that, it's funny because it's a moose.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, of course, it really fits perfectly, and it's like it's kind of nice to see Disney giving a Canadian nod to like one of their movies.
Yeah, this one, yeah, I bet they're gonna go full out. There'll probably be the accent. There'll be there'll be the Toronto CN Tower. I'm sure.
I think like literally this trailer starts out with the CN Tower. It's like the first shot they put out. Yeah, exactly. Like right at the start of it. No, not you. Yeah, like right here. It's the CN Tower.
Yep, that's undeniable.
So there's no denying. I don't think there's going to be a lot of accents though. Like we probably would have heard the accents immediately in this trailer. They're not going to go like immediately like the moose from Brother Bear, but I wouldn't be surprised if there would be a lot of apologizing, because that is actually a thing that Canadians do.
Oh, I know you do well.
Of course. Other than that,
but as a movie so far, looks interesting. I'm sure people make comparisons to like something like Brave or turn into a bear again, but this is definitely looking more interesting than that film.
Well, honestly, I would say I'm actually a bit more positive, and I would say like, wow, this actually looks great. And one thing that I will say that not many Pixar films do have the credit for is that this is honestly really funny. Like there's a lot of moments in this where they did legitimately make me laugh out loud the first time I saw it, and a lot of like really good and effective jokes. Yes, there are a lot of times where in Pixar movies they would have a lot of funny moments, but it's rare that you would find a Pixar movie that in general you would say that it's funny. Like this is a legitimate comedy, and that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting with this one, or at the very least what the trailer is trying to sell, because there's a lot of really funny moments, including like the reaction to the parents when they see May as like the giant red panda, and the dad is like, oh crap, it's already started, and like May is just there, it's like, I'm sorry, what did you say? Or I think another really good one that really made me laugh was the part with the bathroom where like May is trying to hide in the girls' bathroom. One girl came out, it's like, OMG, and then just stops and just like pushes her back in the stall. Like there is actually a lot of like noteworthy funny moments in this, and then like I could go on with like some of the examples, but I mean
the ending bit with the dodgeball is pretty great too. Where it's like,
yeah. Or another one is like when one of her friends like what was asked to hit her. It's like what like May is asking. I was like, all right, come on, hit me, and just like wails in on her face. Like that was actually another scene that was funny.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, you make a good point though, because I just really thought of that for a moment. Like, no, there isn't really any Pixar film I'd just call a straight up comedy in the way that like Disney has Emperor's New Groove. Like, there really isn't.
Mm-hmm. Like it's kind of like a weird thing that you don't necessarily think of, because Disney is not necessarily known to make comedies. Yeah, they'll make a lot of funny characters, a lot of funny moments, a lot of funny gags, but like there are a few exceptions like the Emperor's New Groove, but very rarely have we seen Disney or Pixar make like a straightforward comedy. And that's kind of the feeling that I've been getting with this one. Like maybe it's maybe it's just the trailer itself and we haven't really been getting maybe when we do see the movie, there's not going to be a whole lot of it that is a legitimate comedy, and it is going to be more of your standard Pixar film than a comedy. But so far with the gags that they are presenting, like, they really are great. Like, they really do sell well in the punchlines. It really does work.
I can see how you can pitch this, where it's like, okay, how about it's like a more comedic version of the Brave, that's set in Canada. That's also a more diverse cast. There you go.
Yeah,
that can work.
That, and as well as like set in the 2000s decade also.
Exactly. That works too. Honestly, I liked Luca well enough. It was all right. I mean, I know it was more laid back and low key, which is fine. I just thought it could have been more interesting, for lack of a better word.
Well, interesting in what way? I would like to know your thoughts on that.
I don't know. I just feel like there just wasn't a whole lot just to it. It was so laid back that there was almost no plot, and that'd be fine if the characters were great. But the characters were good, but they weren't great. It was just this weird in between of, this is good, but it's just not holding my interest that well. In fact, sadly enough, I'm just gonna admit this, the most interesting thought occurred to me, which was the dad, the guy that had like the one arm.
Like the one arm, yeah.
My mind just started wondering, why does that character have one arm? And then my mind just kept going back to, the writers wanted to make sure you knew he wasn't associated with Mussolini. All I could think of the whole movie.
Well, I mean, I guess, but then again, like, they just say, like, honestly, they just said he was born with it, which, I mean, yeah, a lot of people would say, like, it's just a random excuse, like, it like, kind of just an excuse to add in, like, diversity, to add disabled characters, but I do find it nice, because I actually do know people, yeah, like, I do know people who, like, they're actually born that way, very similarly to you know, they're born similarly to the dad in Luca, where they were just born with one arm.
Oh yeah, I just was thinking of the Minions movie, where I know there was a studio meeting where it's like, okay, we have to make sure the audience doesn't think of these people as ever working with the Nazis. They're gonna be in an ice cave for a century. Good. Like the equivalent happened here. It's like, how do we make sure this really likable character is not a black shirt, one arm? Okay, great.
Yeah, that is true. Like, they are clever in doing that, but like, they are clever, but it is kind of funny. Like, I've told you this already, but it does remind me of a meme that I saw on the internet, where one thing you never say to a woman, you don't ask about her age. One thing you never say to a man, you never ask about their salary. One thing you should never say to a minion, you don't ask about their allegiance between 1935 and 1945. That's a major no-no.
Yep, that's a writing problem that they had to get out of that one. And Luca, I wouldn't say it was more of a, oh wow, this movie doesn't make any sense. It just didn't hold my interest as much as I would like. I respect it being low key. I just think they could have just had maybe a little bit more going on than just two friends in the summer, moped.
Well, I mean, like, I would disagree personally, mainly because, like, throughout the, you know, like, we've mostly been getting a lot of, like, these extreme, like, crazy animated features, and I mean, there's a lot of them that are great, including like what we had with Raya and the Last Dragon, or Mitchell's versus the Machines. I think it's kind of like a nice change of pace, where we would have something that's more laid back and more reminiscent to a Studio Ghibli film. Especially when nowadays it feels like Pixar is making better Studio Ghibli films than Studio Ghibli themselves, because I would definitely take Luca over Earwig any day.
Oh, I would too. I sat through that movie after being told it was going to be terrible. I don't know what I was expecting. I got what I got.
Yeah, pretty much. But going back to Turning Red, not to like distance ourselves from the...
But I will say that I think that this might be the new Pixar direction, which is these more low-key original films, which I'm entirely fine with after the last decade of sequel, big.
Oh, yeah, of course. I think, like, now we are starting to notice the major difference between, like, the John Lasseter era and the post-John Lasseter era. Like, now we are seeing, like, new movies that are going into different directions than the typical animated features or even the typical Pixar film, that are coming from new voices as well. Especially when, like, this is actually a very rare occurrence, the fact that this is going to be directed by a woman of color with Domi Shi, which you probably remember she actually did win the Oscar for making the animated short Bao.
Yeah, I remember that. I also remember that because for some reason that's what was my reference in that new Simpsons short. I remembered Bao.
Yeah. I was not a
That was
fan
like
of that
that
short.
was the weirdest thing where I'm like, okay, I liked Bao. I wouldn't call it the most famous of all the Pixar shorts. I'm surprised they pulled that one out of a hat.
Well, I mean, I think it's really because like it was one of the more recent ones that got an Oscar, or maybe they got notes from Disney that it's like one of the more popular Pixar shorts that was watched on Disney Plus or whatever.
Oh, I'm sure there's numbers like that. Oh, don't ask me about Pixar shorts. I'm the one that still thought Lava was good.
I enjoyed Lava. It's not great, but I mean, it's cute for what it is. You know, it's just a cheesy cartoon.
I liked it more than the other one that came out that year, the Sanji Super Team.
Oh, really? Oh, dang.
Yeah.
That's a hot take right there.
I know.
Yeah, but anyways, again, going back to Turning Red, though, I will say overall, I'm actually very excited for this movie. I am very optimistic. I wouldn't say, like, I don't think this is going to be, like, the best animated feature of the year. I'm not going to go and, like prepare my exclamation already, but I'm already very positive for what's going to be coming up. It looks like a lot of fun. Sure, it's not going to be the most explosive or the most bombastic animated feature we are getting, but it does look nice. And what they're going for, I think at least the trailer sells it very well for what we might be in store next year. And the fact that this is going to be the first Pixar movie since Toy Story 4 that is going to be coming back to the big screen, yeah, I'm on that alone, also, yeah, I'm definitely excited. And while it would be I feel like maybe Lightyear would mark as like a bigger occasion to see like Pixar's grand return to the big screen, I don't mind that it would be Turning Red. Like, I feel like this is a movie that, yeah, it does deserve to be on the big screen, and it definitely looks like it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think the new direction of going into lower scale personal stories, that's definitely feels like a Pete Docter choice. Everything post like Inside Out feels that sort of style, and I like that. I just think that Luca was good, but they were just getting their footing a little bit better with the change in leadership. And I think this is probably going to be a more firmer step forward. Comedy, but I'm fine with that. It's change some ideas, do something new with some older ideas there too. It probably will end up being my favorite, but I'll definitely see it. I'm somewhat excited for it. It was funny enough that I'm like, okay, I'll remember that date.
Yeah,
it's definitely gonna be better. It's gonna be better than Onward.
Oh, yeah, I think honestly, I think so too. I liked Onward, but I definitely don't think it is, it's not Pixar's best. It's like one of those that's like in the same ranks as like Brave, where it's like it's not in their great category, but it was still fine for what it is.
Actually good to compare this to Onward, because Onward, if you took out any of the stuff with the parent storyline, it's basically a comedy.
I guess. I don't know. The comedy wasn't that great in Onward in the first place.
That's kind of the problem, though. It was a comedy, but a lot of the comedy wasn't working very well, and the emotional stuff worked a lot better, but it wasn't in there a lot.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, I guess so. All right, so with that said, though, I think it is time that we shall go and go into the chat wall. And I would like to ask you all, what did you think about this trailer of Turning Red? Did you guys enjoy this one? Are you excited to see Turning Red? Or do you have any problems that you would like to criticize? Let me know what you think on this.
Oh, also, they just pointed out that Onward did come out after Toy Story 4.
Oh, right. Crap, I forgot. Okay, yeah. Thank you for correcting that mistake there. Yes, that is true that technically Onward did get released on the big screen before the whole pandemic. So, yeah.
All for 2 weeks.
That is true. And funny enough, that will always be like the last movie I've ever seen on the big screen before the pandemic even started. I mean, I did go back to the movies to to watch whatever new stuff is coming out. Like I watched Dune recently, and I did watch like some of the DreamWorks stuff like Spirit and Boss Baby 2. But yeah. Anyways, let's go back to the chat wall. Let's see what they have to say. I love this movie already. I knew I was going to love it based on the director alone last year, but still, I love these characters, and Mei Lin is a bean. I love how her friends just learn about it and are totally cool with her transformation. They love her. I love the early 2000s aesthetic. Also, Maylin's mom seems less like a Karen and more like someone who cares about her daughter and is just overbearing. It's overall a really funny movie, and Mei Ling is a cute being. Well, yeah, I mean, like, in the first trailer, like, all they showed with the mom is just the fact that she's a Karen, but at least in here, we do see a bit more of an explanation. So yeah, it does make more sense that, like, there will be more development with her, especially with the fact that they did get a prominent star to play her with Sandra Oh. So I think there will be a lot more layers to the mom than what we've even seen with this trailer.
I just realized, is this like the first vocal performance by Sandra Oh since she was in one of the Land Before Time sequels?
Maybe? I think, well, like, she has done a few other stuff before, but I would have to double check on that. I don't think it's her I don't think it's her first time, like, coming back to do voiceover work, but...
Oh, no, she was in Raya. I forgot. Yeah, she was in that.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. She was in Raya, that is true. Okay.
It is true. All right.
Yes.
Also, a girl suddenly transitioning and parents being okay with it. That could almost be read as subtext.
I see what you mean. That is true. I did not think of that. Anyways, let's see what we got here. As soon as they show that boy band and played a song from NSYNC, I just thought, yep, this certainly takes place in the early 2000s. Beside that, this looks like it'll be a ton of fun. The animation is energetic and full of life. The characters are rather charming, and the story, from what we are shown, does seem kind of interesting. I certainly look forward to this, and I am happy that this will actually be in theaters after both Soul and Luca was only released on Disney+. Yep, that's what I've been mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is true. At least, like, it's going to be nice to see, like, Pixar movies back on the big screen in general.
I would have liked to have seen Soul in the theater. I would have liked to have seen how the audience reacted.
Oh my god, I would have as well. Like, well, either Soul or Luca. Like, I would have loved to see them be on the big screen, though. Like, they definitely do earn it. Like, especially, like, yeah, say what you will about Luca, but I feel like at least, like, just for the immersiveness, just to see, like, you know, the Italian Riviera on the big screen, that would be nice. And I mean, Soul, like, Soul is a given. Soul is like, that should be on the big screen.
Especially the ending. I would have loved to have seen how many people are going to cry in this theater now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Wow.
And also, a good point about the music. We didn't talk about the music. That it is very early 2000s music. I expected to see Smash Mouth almost. That would have been too much in another direction.
Yeah, that is true. Let's see. Wow, this looks impressive even for Pixar. They are really nailing the style and the comedy that is in this trailer. It's rare for Pixar to make a full-on comedy, let alone for an animated Disney movie. This is clearly for some of you, America the movie and Tom and Jerry done right in terms of comedy. I just can't wait to see whiny fanboys on Twitter say Luca and this film are bad because it has the Cal art style. Oh, yeah, like, I can imagine, yeah. I mean, we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that yet, but I can imagine that could, like, slowly emerge. I mean, you never know with the internet and how some things could actually come back, like, just out of the blue. Like, I remember just recently on Twitter, I was actually bombarded with John K fans. Like, I made one joke about John Cristofalusi, and then suddenly some fans were just barging in and just flat out attacked me, like, trying to defend him, saying how, like, he's one of the greatest animators ever and his takes are far superior than everyone else's. It was just insane.
Yeah. Oh, some things never die, I guess.
Oh, yeah. It's the internet. You never know what horrors will appear in front of you. Let's see now. How come this looks more like a Studio Ghibli movie than Earwig and the Witch? But all jokes aside, this looks really fun and adorable. I like how they explain the red panda curse. May herself seems like an entertaining character, and I'm surprised at how funny the trailer was. Plus, it'll be rewarding to see another Pixar film on the big screen again, even if so far all I got in the trailer in front of Encanto on Thursday. Still, great success. Yeah, so yeah, it's going to be great to see that again. Let's see what other comments that we do have here. This trailer looks really good, to be honest. The comedy looks funny. Characters seem to be more complex, particularly with May's mother. Good animation, great settings in Toronto, since I have been there back in the summer of 2018. And clever use of using NSYNC's song "It's Gonna Be Me" for that trailer, since I did grow up in the 2000s decade before my teenage age kicks in the early 2010s. Overall, can't wait. Also, how much do you want to bet if Duke Kaboom will appear in Turning Red? Oh, that is true. Like a little Easter egg.
He is Canadian. The character is Canadian. Yeah.
That is true. Oh my god. No, actually, you know who I want to see a cameo of? Like, not just with Duke Kaboom. I want to see a cameo of, like, do you remember in Toy Story 4, the owner of Duke Kaboom that he always reminisces, Régent? Or something like that.
Guy.
Oh my god, that always makes me laugh. Oh my god, I would love to see a cameo from Régent. Oh my god.
Yeah. Although, since it's actually funny, since Toy Story 4, Keanu Reeves has only gotten even more popular. So I want to see like an advertisement. It's like, yes, buy the new Duke Kaboom action figure. He's got a freaking like black coat, like it's freaking Matrix style.
Oh my god, yeah, that is true. Like, especially with the fact that, like, with Matrix Resurrection, that's going to be coming out, so like they'll just find a way to have that little tie-in. All right, anyways, we'll have one more comment to go and read. Here we go. This movie looks cute. However, I feel like the story is very repetitive, because if you take a look, the story actually reminds me of Teen Wolf, where Mei Ling suddenly turns into a red panda, and then maybe all the kids would praise as a celebrity. And I kind of get the feeling that her parents might turn into red pandas as well. But overall, I actually like this trailer. And does anyone feel like they want to give Mei Ling a big hug in her red panda form? Oh yeah, okay, like one thing I will say is that is a little bit too assumptuous of like guessing, oh, maybe this will happen, maybe that will happen, because you never know with these things. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I don't know, that's like thinking a little bit too ahead of what this movie could possibly be. So for me, I'm just like gonna wait and see with how the movie will go. But one thing I can guarantee you, she will be a popular character at the Disney parks. You know that they're gonna make the mascot of that character like really fluffy, and there's gonna be so many people that want to give that character a hug.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a really popular meet and greet character.
Absolutely. Well, okay, maybe when things do get better with COVID, first of all, because like we have yet to see actual there isn't a moment, like we have yet to reach the point where Disney would allow guests to go and like give a hug to the princesses, take a picture right next to them, and all that kind of stuff. That has yet to actually officially happen, I believe. But you know, when the pandemic does get better, and you know, when more, you know, when guidelines have become a lot more relaxed, then I could definitely see people ready to go and give a big hug to May in her big panda form.
Yeah. Also, speaking of the animation style, boy, Pixar really has come a long way since the early days of Sully's Fur.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, like we're talking about like with Monsters Inc. That was like 20 years ago. And like, yeah, it definitely shows how they have advanced. In fact, like probably a great example that I've seen is that people were actually comparing shots to the original Monsters Inc. to nowadays with Monsters at Work, where there was one scene where they did recreate the ending of Monsters Inc. with Sully like just managing the new Monsters Inc. where now they're focused on laughter. And yeah, there's like a noticeably major difference, but we see how with Monsters at Work, it looks so much better.
Oh yeah, art to technology, always impressive.
Exactly. And now moving on to our next story, we are going to be looking into another trailer, but this time we're going to be looking into a video game. A game in which we have previously talked about that we would assume at first it was a rumor and we just kept it as a rumor, but now I guess considering that there was so much word that was already out there and so much evidence, including pictures that were revealed, I guess Warner Brothers decided, well, you know what? Screw it. We might as well show it to the public. You know what I'm talking about, right, Tyler?
Oh, yes. How could I have missed it?
Yes, and with that said, it's going to be a longer trailer, but let's go ahead and actually take a look at the upcoming Super Smash Bros. Style Warner Brothers fighting game, Multiversus.
Hi, I'm Tony, the game director and co-founder here at Player First Games. We're here today to give you a first look at our new game, Multiversus. About 2 years ago, we had a question. Can we create a platform fighter that embodies everything we love about the genre, removes the pain points, and brings in some new ideas? Multiversus emphasizes teamwork and social play with an ever-expanding, diverse cast of characters that you know and love. This is our take on the competitive platform fighter. Cooperative, deep combat mechanics across multiple platforms, and free to play. Everything is better with your friends, and that's a bond we want to emphasize across our modes, especially in 2v2.
Hi, coming at you!
Every character has unique moves that focus on team play, whether that's a smoke bomb from Batman to cover your team's movement,
Batman out.
Steven shielding his ally for extra defense,
Need a shield?
saving someone with a lasso tree, or using Bugs Bunny's tunnel. The better your teamwork, the better your chances are to win.
You're under my protection!
We built the game from the ground up for teamwork and co-op to deliver a more unique experience that we think players will enjoy. And for those of us who like to play solo, don't worry, we support that too.
A wolf of House Stark is not afraid.
Our roster has some of the most recognizable characters, so bring them to life with as close to one-to-one representation as possible through visuals, their worlds, their music, and more is important to us.
Aim for the fences!
That's why iconic voice talent powers many of our characters, like Kevin Conroy as Batman.
I am Batman.
In fact, we think you'll recognize a lot of them.
Bet you didn't know about my dancing powers!
My roommate thinks I have anger issues. Let's see what you think.
Get ready to eat my sword!
We're excited to show you our takes on characters from Tom and Jerry, to Arya Stark,
Not today.
to
Wait, dude, I got all kinds of tough guy lines!
Shaggy.
Zoinks!
Each fighter in Multiversus is unique, and we'll have a range of customizations available for all of them. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
I'm gonna eat so many Scooby snacks!
Multiversus supports cross-play and cross-progression, so you can focus on what's important. Who you'll play with, on what platform you want.
Friendship power!
That also means guilds and more social features. Get ready to challenge other guilds with yours, and see who's really ready for a fight. We'll have leaderboards and other ways to prove who's the best. Remember the last time you DC'd from a match? What about lag affecting your inputs? Us too. Multiversus' goal is best in class online. We're investing a lot into making the most responsive gameplay and netcode, in addition to dedicated servers from day one for the life of the game. Our vision for Multiversus is that anyone and anything is possible. We'll serve our community with regular updates, including new characters, modes, skins, and events throughout the year for you and your friends. With your help, we want to grow Multiversus to the best game it can be. So whether you want to freeze all your foes at once or compete in esports, you'll have a home here.
Batman versus Superman. Let's settle this once and for all.
That's our first look into Multiversus. We've got more iconic characters and features to reveal. Sign up at multiversus.com for a chance to participate in our upcoming playtests. We want to hear your feedback.
Victory!
Haven't even broken a sweat.
And that is Multiversus, which is going to be coming soon in 2022. And I think they also revealed which consoles are going to be available for, in which they stated it will be for PC, the Xbox Series, and for the PS5. Maybe PS4 and Xbox One as well. But one thing that is interesting to note is that I don't think this will be coming to the Switch. I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, yeah, apparently this might not even come in on the Switch. Hold on a sec. Why did I even take this away? Anyways, Tyler, what did you think about what we have seen with Multiversus?
Oh, where to start? Apparently the universe has decried we're getting a lot of Smash games now all of a sudden. This in the Nickelodeon fighter.
Yeah, it's like after all the hype that we've been getting with Smash Bros. Ultimate and like all the characters revealed that we have gotten throughout the years, it's like now suddenly we see other companies want to have like their own taste of Smash Bros. Ultimate and make games like Nick All-Star Brawl, and now we're getting Multiversus as well. That is true.
Oh yeah, like I can see this becoming a trend. I can see Disney making like Disney's Villains Fighter game or another Marvel vs. Capcom. So it's gonna be a trend for a while. I can already see.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see, one day I could definitely see Disney getting one, and that will get a lot of attention. Like the hype will definitely be real for the Disney version.
Oh yeah, obviously I'm gonna main as Gaston because he's the best character to fight with.
Anyways, you were saying with Multiversus?
With Multiverse, I wonder when this was greenlit in development, because there's like very big elephant in the room that the chat already figured out, which is there's a character in there because of a meme, straight up.
Yeah. Yeah, go on.
They put in Ultra Super Shaggy in there, and they lean into it heavily. It's a meme that's only been around for like a year. Who is it? When did it actually start?
I don't know. I can't even remember. I think it was before COVID. Like, I want to say at least this was a meme that went on at least before like COVID. Like Shaggy was already kind of like a popular figure in terms of memes, but in terms of like the Ultra Instinct Shaggy, I think that was something that like really went full steam, I think before COVID. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I remember like that meme going on for a while. I don't think that was like a product of the pandemic.
I don't think so. I remember Matthew Lillard really leading into it as well.
Oh, dang. Some people are even saying it started way back in 2017.
It's not that old. No.
I don't know. I don't think it's that old, but I think like it got popular in the mainstream like at least by 2019.
That sounds probably about right. It's just the pre-COVID years are kind of hard to remember all of a sudden. Yeah, it's okay. That's interesting. The selection of characters is also quite unique. Like, okay, we got our Warner Brother classics. We got some Cartoon Network characters. Suddenly a Game of Thrones character. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, they got to go with, like, a lot of their really popular stuff. And, like, compared to last time, what's interesting to note is the fact that they did reveal more characters than what was on the leaks, including Arya Stark from Game of Thrones and even adding in Garnet from Steven Universe. I'm honestly not really that surprised with the roster that they do have, and they want to go and stick with what are some of the more popular ones that they have, including including Steven Universe, Adventure Time, and then adding in like the classic essentials, like you gotta have Batman, you gotta have Superman, you gotta have Bugs Bunny, and also adding in Tom and Jerry for Hanna-Barbera representation, and yeah, Shaggy with the memes. I mean, well, like the thing is with Warner Brothers right now is that they seem like they're pretty much approaching this where it's similar to SpongeBob, where now they've become very unapologetic and fully embracing the meme culture aspect, and like more and more we have kind of seen these memes officially becoming canon. Like Bugs Bunny is a great example of that, especially with the way they really capitalize on Big Chungus, where it started out as just like a funny little moment that happened, and like I think it was like on Elmer Fudd's first ever appearance, or like Or no, not Elmer's first ever appearance. Like the first time we see, like the first ever appearance of Fat Elmer Fudd, and it was it. Yeah, it was like a cute little joke there, but then it became a phenomenon, even down to the point where that Big Chungus Bugs Bunny actually makes an appearance in Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Yeah, that was surreal.
Yes,
And I remember some people going, no, they're referencing just the animated shirt. No, they're not. They're referencing Big Chungus.
no, that was a reference to Big Chungus. If that was a reference to the actual cartoon, like they would have had Bugs Bunny say, "Dad ought to hold him all white." Like he would have said that line with the thing. But in this case here, no, it was just referencing the meme itself. And and honestly, the fact that they even do have Ultra Instinct Shaggy, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the skins for Bugs Bunny that they'll have coming soon will be a Big Chungus.
Oh, I was about to say they're gonna double down hard on the skins because they said that the game's like for free, so that means money's gonna go through microtransactions, and they're gonna be making a lot of them skins.
Oh yeah, and I mean another one that I guess it would count in that category as well. Technically, would be with Tom and Jerry, where they did reveal that one of their costumes was their cowboy costume. If I can remember where it is specifically, but there was at one point they did reveal that like it was a bit of a popular meme where we saw Tom and Jerry having the cowboy costume. So like yeah, they would include that. I'm trying to remember where that would be. I remember it was like also, with both
I just saw a comment that said what if they start adding Dune characters? Yes, I want to play as the Baron Harkonnen. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, trust me, with the popularity of Dune right now, I would not be surprised. Like, it would not surprise me if they would legit go in that direction and they would add a character like Paul, or they would add what was it, like Duncan, the character that
Duncan
Jason
Idaho.
Momoa played. Yeah, like the character that that Jason Momoa played.
I can see a sandworm being a stage.
Oh yeah, no, they'll probably do something with Dune, that or like Godzilla versus Kong. Like they definitely will.
Oh Lord, I'm surprised they haven't actually mentioned that one yet.
What?
Like they haven't done a Godzilla or a King Kong tie-in yet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like they'll.
That movie was only back in March, wasn't it? Like.
Yes, it was. It was actually, and I think there's still like there might still be more MonsterVerse movies coming soon.
That's TBD on that. They haven't really mentioned much since it came out.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, and some people are even mentioning Neo from the Matrix. That's also going to be one that probably is expecting.
That'll almost certainly happen because of the new movie.
Of course. And but one thing that I will say right now, one thing that I will give it credit for is that one thing that I do believe that could stand out a little bit is actually the authenticity that they do want to stay true to the characters. Like one of the biggest criticisms that I keep hearing about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is the fact that, well, the characters are very mute, that they are just playable characters. Yeah, they're just playable characters and that's it. I don't think there's any additional skins that they've added. There's no voice acting that is included with them, which kind of makes it a little bit awkward and weird. But in here, you could tell that there is a lot of devotion, like to make the characters feel as legitimate as possible, rather it be with the kind of moves that they do present, or like how they visually depict the moves, and especially with the costumes as well. You could see all the different types of costumes that they do have, like the different Batman versions that they have. Like one is a little bit more accurate to the animated series back in the 1990s. Bugs Bunny has a costume where he's dressed up like the lady in What's Up Her Doc. So at least that I could buy into it, especially like with the addition of voice actors, and especially bringing in a lot of like their respective original actors. That like every character that is coming in is voiced by the original people who have previously voiced them before, with a few exceptions. Like I know Steven Universe is going to be voiced by someone else. But other than that, for the most
Wonder
part,
Woman's also not voiced. Wonder Woman's not voiced by original voice actors, but everyone else from like the DC lineup seems to be voiced by the original. Like Kevin Conroy's in there, and
Kevin Conroy. They got Eric Bauza to be both Bugs Bunny and Tom and Jerry. They got John DiMaggio as Jake. They got Estelle coming back as Garnet. The original, and even the original actress who played Arya Stark is going to be coming back to reprise her role.
That was the strangest one because I was very much expecting that to be like an impersonation, but no, that's very clearly Maisie Williams. I'm kind of surprised.
Exactly. So, yeah, and some people are even bringing up, of course, Tara Strong will be Harley Quinn, Jeremy Shada will be Finn, And of course, well, I mean, they got Justin Roiland to be Rick from Rick and Morty. So yeah, they already got a lot of so they do have the original actors, and I actually do genuinely believe them when they say that they're gonna do their best in terms of authenticity to the characters and stay true to who they are. But with that said, though, personally, I'm not entirely convinced if this really is a game that, at least for me, would be completely worthwhile, because the grand majority of what we have been seeing so far, it really is just a Super Smash Bros. Game. It really is nothing more but a Super Smash Bros. Clone, but now with Warner Brothers characters. And I mean, the only time that I've seen that could be different is probably like right at the end, where they showed like other features that could be involved as well. Just got to play a little bit at the end. Like there are like some options that they've also included of like customization and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they got stuff like that with the different costumes. But there's also like another moment.
I think the character tree where it's like,
yeah, like they got
that looks different.
Yeah, they got like a character tree. There like you can go and get some extra customizations. Yeah, like here we go. Yeah, here we got the tree right over here. So I could see like maybe there might be some things that you can customize your characters in order to make them unique in terms of your preference, in terms of playing style. That I could see where it can be a little bit different. But other than that, I just feel like so much of it is nothing more but Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
That also leads to another concern too, because there's not a whole lot of fighting games that feature a skill tree. There's a reason for that, because that usually means that the more skilled players are just going to smash the newer ones. And then the fact that the game is free and there's a lot of microtransactions makes me also a bit worried that could lead to some bad implications.
Oh, yes. I mean, like, yeah, I know a lot of people are very much excited with the free-to-play element, which, yeah, it does sound nice. But then again, it does seem like the kind of thing where there will, like, it's not there might be. I know there will be microtransactions in order to financially make things up for the hard work that they have done in there. Like, the microtransactions is where the money will flow from this game. And that's the part where...
I'm getting some Fortnite, like, flashbacks, because that's also free. And also, technically, you can go without buying skins, but boy, do they really incentivize you playing that. And some of the art style even is a little bit Fortnite-inspired. Not all of it, but some of it.
Yeah, just minor. I wouldn't say entirely, because a lot of the characters do stay true to who they are, especially when you do look at the cartoon characters. Like they definitely are the same. Like Tom and Jerry is still Tom and Jerry. Bugs Bunny is still true to how he looks in the new Looney Tunes cartoons. Then you got the Steven Universe characters, the who else? The Adventure Time characters. Like maybe with the live action characters or the comic characters, yeah, they have been updated to look more to have that modern aesthetic that you kind of see in games like either Overwatch or in Fortnite. But other than that, like, the art style is pretty nice. I will give it to them.
It's not a bad art style. It's just the fact that it's probably going to go in that style of free. We're going to really cram all those microtransaction costumes down your throat.
Yeah, that is true. And especially there's going to be, especially the most wanted ones as well. Like what we just saw with the Batman animated series, or with like the cowboy Tom and Jerry, or even with like the different skins for Shaggy and stuff like that. I'm sure like they're going to boost up the price, like maybe $2 a costume, which doesn't sound much at first, but it will eventually add up.
I know the kids are going to want to buy the big chunk of skin.
Oh yeah, they will. And that's also going to be another popular one. Like they would, like I'm definitely guessing that they would definitely do Big Chungus. But yeah, overall for me, I just like, I know they're trying their best to try to sell it as like, oh, we're doing this new platform fighting game that is unique, then we will improve upon the things that people complain about. But honestly, I'm really not buying it, especially the fact that this does feel like a game that's more corporately handled. And even the fact, like, yeah, some people could argue about the factor that this is coming from a first-time studio that's going to be developing this. But then again, it kind of does feel like the fact that it is from a first-time studio, that gives more creative control to Warner Brothers for them to do whatever they want to see in order to make the game more profitable. So overall, like, I do understand, I do like the concept, and there are some things that actually are pretty impressive. Like, I actually do like the authenticity that they are trying to do. But other than that, though, I just don't feel like there's much interest for me in getting it, because this is a Super Smash Bros. Clone. And not to mention the possibility that it might not be available in all platforms, that it's just going to be like on PC, on PlayStations, and on Xbox, but not necessarily on the Nintendo consoles like the Switch. So that could also be another major concern and another like downside to this game as well. So honestly, overall, they have, they did show some cool stuff, but I have yet to feel enthusiastic to actually go and play it myself.
Yeah, also the Switch thing. That I cannot explain that. Why wouldn't you want this on the Switch? Everyone's gonna probably want to go. What, if you're on the Switch, some guys are gonna clearly be more Warner Brother fans and Nintendo fans. So come on, they're gonna want to play as these characters instead of Smash just because of the loyalty to that brand. I don't know why you wouldn't put it on the Switch.
Yeah, exactly. And not to mention, like, I would have a theory, and that would be because they are trying to integrate cross-platform gaming. So like you can actually
probably it.
Yeah, so that could probably be the big reason, so that PlayStation players could actually play against people who are on their PC. But other than that, though, it's just, I don't know. I'm still not sold on the idea yet.
I'm kind of in the same boat, because I'm like, okay, a lot of these look kind of fun. I can't lie. I kind of like some of these characters. That does have that allure of, ooh, you can play as that character that you like. It's why I'm like, when they do the Disney fighter, I'm gonna be like, okay, fine, here's the money, take it. But
I might be guilty. I know I'm a massive hypocrite for saying this, but I might as well if Disney would go and actually do that. Like, and I mean like a legitimate fighting game that you could play on platforms like on the Switch or the PS5 or whatever.
Oh no, like I have an even worse example, which is, I'm not a big Fortnite fan. I don't like it, but every time they announce a character, I'm like, oh god, that better not be a character I like. That better not be a character I like. Oh, I'll probably end up buying it if it's a character I like. I was terrified when like the Resident Evil game came out. I'm like, they better not have a Lady Dimitrescu event. Don't do it. I'm not gonna buy this game. Don't make me do it.
Yeah, they haven't
so
announced
I'm guilty
that
of
yet,
it.
though.
Not yet, thankfully. But I'm guilty. So I know that I will probably fall for this eventually. But yeah, you're right. It's Smash Brothers, but with Warner Brother characters, minus some aspects that I think are interesting, like the integrated characters and the skill tree, which could be a plus or a minus depending on how they use it. It honestly kind of remind me of the late 90s, where every game was kind of like Doom. Everyone sort of said, oh, look at that Doom clone. Look at that Doom clone.
Yeah.
And eventually it just became its own genre. Is this going to be a genre, the multiverse genre?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's already a thing that's going on in movies. I wouldn't be surprised if it would bleed over to games.
Funnily enough, the first ripoff you could say of Smash Bros. Is probably remember PlayStation All-Stars from 2012?
Oh, that disaster. Oh my god. No, but I remember. But also the funny thing is, I remember when Cartoon Network tried to do their own Smash Bros. Game, and that didn't work out well.
Oh god, you're right. And even going further back, you remember there was a Billy and Mandy fighting game?
Oh my god, I don't even remember a Billy and Mandy fighting game.
It was like on the PS2. It was like 2006.
Dang.
Yeah. That was just that game. But I'm like, this has been a thing for a while, but it's really ramping up, and I can see more people just jumping into it because it seems like easy money. It's thing you like, fight with it. Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
There'll be an audience, I'm sure, and honestly, what matters most is the mechanics, which I can't judge fighting mechanics from a trailer. They could be good, they could be bad, I don't know. It took a while for people to figure out in a Nickelodeon fighter that, oh, this is actually not that good a made game.
Yeah, exactly. So I believe with that said, we've pretty much really covered our opinions on that. But now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you think about Multiversus so far? Is this a game that interests you? Do you want to go and try it out? Are you a little bit more iffy because it seems more like a Smash Bros. Clone? Let me know what you think on all this. Okay, let's see now. I'm honestly very mixed when it comes to Multiversus. On one hand, the characters do stay true to how they were, and I'm really happy the original actors came back for this, but on the other hand, I definitely agree that it just feels like a Smash Bros. Clone and not really original. Also, I really don't find surprising that Warner Brothers has fully embraced Ultra Instinct Shaggy as a meme, and if they add new characters that are going to be added in the future, can they please add in Rick and Morty? Well, it's all I can say right now, it's already been confirmed that Rick is going to be in the game. I don't know about Morty, but Rick is already confirmed to be in there. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. I'm quite hyped for this game. I finally got Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl for the Nintendo Switch, and I had a lot of fun with it. I'm quite excited to see how Multiversus will turn out to be. I'll definitely play as Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny, and Shaggy. He's using 10,000% of his power. I'm going to get all the game, I'm going to get that game next year when it comes out, probably next year. Also, I hope that the microtransactions in the game wouldn't get the backlash like the others. Well, that depends on how much they charge. Because if it's something like a quarter, you know, if they're only charging a quarter for like the costumes, then that wouldn't be a problem. But if they do put it up in a pretty hefty price, like $3 or $5 or per like microtransaction, then people are going to have a problem.
It could be worse. Call of Duty skins are like $20 a pop.
Oh God, and it's
yeah.
And I mean, it's freaking Call of Duty. Like, why do you need like a different skin for like the same? Like, it's already bad enough you're kind of buying the same game already, and now like you're gonna buy like a different skin for it. Like, what do you gain from that?
It looks good, and you can use it in the Warzone game. That's all they're thinking.
Well, are people even gonna see it? Most of them do camp, so I mean, what's the point of changing skins?
That's always fun. Getting like, I'm gonna get this character custom skin for a game that's first-person shooter.
Exactly. Like, I was like, are you really impressing people with it? And honestly, I would not be surprised if I would get a lot of hate from Call of Duty players for that comment.
You're wasting your life. You're wasting your money. Go home. But you're already home, so whatever.
Yeah, I was like, go home, but I'm already home. Well, then get off the computer.
Your sister have some time on the damn thing.
All right. Anyways, yeah, this game looks cool. It's kind of a Smash clone, but I like the roster. I like how they acknowledge Ultra Instinct Shaggy. The maps look dope, but hear me out. The rights of the show Lazy Town are currently owned by Warner Media. This means that if we play our cards right, we could have the opportunity to have a scenario that's Shaggy versus Big Chungus versus Robbie Rotten. Battle of the memes, baby. Man, I never thought of that.
I was thinking, is there any other characters they can meme in there? It's probably a good thing that Touching My Spaghetti was a couple years before Shaggy.
Well, Touching My Spaghetti was not Warner Brothers. That's not a Looney Tunes cartoon. That was a Terry Toons cartoon. So that wouldn't even happen in there. But yeah, oh my God, I never really thought of that. But then again, I would just say right now, that would be a little bit doubtful. I would honestly doubt it. And I don't want to break any people's hopes and dreams, but I feel like if Warner Brothers would really want to go and embrace Robbie Rotten or whatever, they would have already included him in Space Jam: A New Legacy. Like, you would see among the audience, you would see Robbie Rotten like right next to Pennywise or or like the agent from The Matrix or something like that.
Is LeBron going to be a guest character?
Oh, I would not be surprised. I honestly would not be surprised. You know, honestly, the funny thing is that I have actually seen like a joke article from, I believe it was from The Hard Times. And that, you know, it's like the Hard Times is like The Onion where, you know, they make parody articles. And they actually released one article where it's about Multiversus, and they had a chance to have an interview with the developer who is actually LeBron James's son.
It's just the actor who played the character of the son, not his even real son.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Like literally LeBron James's son from the movie, even acknowledging that a big help from it is an AI that looks suspiciously like Don Cheadle.
I gotta read that article now.
Oh yeah, like it's hilarious. Let's see here. First, Nickelodeon made their own version. Now it's Cartoon Network's turn. Who's next? Disney's Channel? So many influences. Although this game looks good, might not be great. We'll just have to see how this would turn out. The characters I actually want to have in there includes Mordecai and Rigby, Yogi Bear, Rick and Morty, Pibby, and Paul Atreides from Paul from Dune. And if they don't add Scooby-Doo in the game, Ultra Instinct Shaggy will zoinks Cartoon Network. However, I am in no rush of getting this game. So yeah, basically wait and see with more what they got.
It'll be Disney. They'll do it one of these days. They're the biggest company that has not gotten into this yet.
I mean, Disney will have to cave in, especially with who was it? With Bob Chapek, of course. Like he'll jump into the opportunity.
They already dipped their toe a little bit with like Sora being in Smash.
Yeah, and not to mention, like if they would do, like if Disney is willing to do NFTs, they would definitely be willing to do a Smash Bros. Clone.
Yeah, they are willing to do the hello fellow kids moments. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'll read one more comment before we jump into the next story. I saw the trailer through Angry Joe's reaction, and although I find it's hilarious with his reaction when Ultra Instinct Shaggy took down his favorite superhero Superman, but other than that, it looks fine. It looked better than Nick All-Star Brawl, I'll give it credit, but I don't know if I'll bet that excited, especially I don't know if I'll be that excited, especially taking memes way too seriously like Ultra Instinct Shaggy. Have you seen the Warner Brothers animation logo from the new animated Mortal Kombat film? Other than that, it looks fine. Yeah, I have seen it, and I think that was the first major time where Warner Brothers acknowledged the Shaggy meme.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw that too, where I was just looking at it sideways for a solid 5 minutes going, did they really just... Yeah, they're tripling down on it now.
Exactly. Well, they're tripling down on like any memes that are connected to their brand.
It's concerning, because I don't think I really want major corporations just making meme characters and jokes into films. Like, no, don't need to do that, please.
Oh, absolutely. All right, with that said, it is now time we shall jump on to our next story. And oh my god, this one. This was something that I messaged you, Tyler, that we just needed to talk about this. Like, oh my god. We were talking about this not too long ago, and then I saw this article, and I was laughing out loud. Like, I knew I had to message you saying, like, okay, we need to switch up one of the stories because we gotta talk about this. Like, oh my god.
I think I know what it is.
Oh yes, we need to get into this. I don't care if it's not animation related. It is just pure madness. This is truly crazy. And what I'm going to be talking about is regarding the infamous Diana musical. Yes, folks, if you guys don't know, there's a brand new musical that just opened on Broadway called Diana the Musical, which is actually a musical biography on Princess Diana. And right now, it is the new musical that everyone loves to hate. There hasn't been a Broadway show that is this much of a disaster since Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. It really is that bad, especially with the way that they handle the life of Princess Diana and turning it into this flashy, bright, fun-loving musical and whatever. Like, it really is that kind of like something so tasteless that is just amazing to see. But what I want to talk about here is regarding the reactions from the people who did work on the Broadway show, specifically some of the stars of the Broadway show and one of the producers, in which they put out their comments regarding the criticisms that has been given to Diana the Musical. And oh my lord, it is like, this is one of those things where they're trying to put down the fire with gasoline. And one of the examples that I want to read you here from my source on Variety is actually the woman who plays Diana herself, Gianna De Wall, in which she states here, yeah. Okay, it's just down here. This is the example. So she states, I am intrigued why people think it's great to make a really serious film about her, but really bad to make a lighthearted musical. They're both produced privately for profit, and they're both entertainment. So why is one fine and the other isn't? The audiences who come to see our show, who wear tiaras and boo at Charles, are just as deserving of their entertainment as someone who wants to go into the movies and weep. And what she is referring to here is the new movie that came out, Spencer, with Kristen Stewart playing as Princess Diana, which right now is actually getting a lot of praise, and there's actually a lot of talk right now regarding the possibility that maybe Kristen Stewart could actually get an Oscar nomination for that, so we will have to wait and see. But hold on, there is more. We also got a comment here from Frank Marshall, who is one of the producers of the show, in which he states, look, this was never meant to be taken, it was never meant to be a serious study. This is one way of telling her story, and we have to face the reality that it was a tabloid story. And he even repeats the tagline of the show, stating, was there ever a greater tabloid tale? We even got one other quote, like a quick little quote coming from Ro Hartranft, who plays Prince Charles in this. And all he stated was, we're trying our best to take you on the journey with us. And Gianna De Wall would go and make one final comment as she states right over here, we're not playing acoustic guitars here. It's literally the point to be exaggerative. It is a musical. And by all accounts, Diana was the most fun, most silly, most rebellious, most spontaneous person. And I genuinely think she'd enjoy it. I love that our show doesn't take itself seriously. And so you could judge it for being that if you like.
Where to start with all that?
Oh my god! You took the words right out of my mouth. Tyler, where the fridge do we begin with this?
I guess I'll start with the phrase, it's like, well, we could have a serious version and a funny version too. It's, you know, it's like trying to compare Schindler's List to Life is Beautiful, I guess.
Oh, man. Oh, man. And I think we talked about this before, where there are some people, some critics, who did unironically compare this to Springtime for Hitler from the producers. And honestly, this whole thing with Diana the Musical, it really does feel like something that came out of the producers. Like, I could imagine a scenario where Max Bialystock would go in front of Leo Bloom and he would just say, Leo, I need your opinion. What do you think? Which one should we go and produce? Should we do Springtime for Hitler or should we do Diana the Musical? Either way, they can make us a lot of money with these.
That, or it feels like a cutaway gag from like one of the earlier seasons of like Arrested Development, where it's like, ah, yes, he was the one-man star of Diana the Musical. And it just cuts the footage of it being awful, and then you just cut back.
Yes, like, it really does feel like, yeah, exactly. It actually feels like some kind of, like, Saturday Night Live skit, where, like, they're trying to satirize a musical that's kind of like this, and they want to make themselves, like, as stupidly exaggerated as possible, and that's why they made Diana the Musical. Oh my god, it really, it actually does sound like a parody coming to life, where someone is legit taking like the tragedy of one of the most well-known modern figures of the royal family and just turning that into this like fun-loving family musical. Just out of curiosity, Tyler, you said that you have seen it?
I actually have, because it was taped back in, I want to say, April of 2020, because it actually premiered on Broadway on the 17th, but it was written for years before that, and then it was meant to premiere back in March of 2020. But then, you know, COVID happened, which, you know, I guess you can't say COVID didn't do anything good.
Yes.
But apparently, even though, fate decried this shouldn't be made, they said we're going to film it, we're going to put it on Netflix, and then we're going to get people really excited for the show when it comes out. That did not happen. Everyone saw it and just dogpiled on it really fast, and I'm surprised they had the actual guts to actually premiere it the month after. And
yeah, they did air it on Netflix, right? Like that was actually something like that made it official.
It was like the first week of October is when it came out. It was a trending thing for a day.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, the funny thing is that it really did sound like Netflix wanted to, they wanted to compete against Disney Plus. Like, oh yeah, you have Hamilton? Well, we have Diana the musical. And that just turned out to be a flop. So just wondering, what are your quick opinions on the Diana musical?
We could be here all day. It is endlessly fascinating in the just wrong-headed, creepy, horrible, why would you do this? And then just car crash mentality. Wrong phrase to use in this story. Yeah, actually it is. It is exactly that. It's like a car has crashed violently in front of you and you're just gonna gawk and look at it until it's dragged away. That's what this musical is. It's just a never-ending stream of bad ideas, from the dialogue being the most on-the-nose British, where it's like, there's a song when, like, Prince William is born where it's like, I have our first child here, and let me say cheerio, rightio, yay. It's like, what? This was not written by someone who's from Britain, clearly.
Yeah, like, it really does sound, yeah, like, I can imagine the scenario is like, oh, I just had my first son. He shall be named William. Oh, good show. Good show, my good man.
Yeah, I had to write some of this stuff down because I'm like, I had to remember these lyrics. They're a disaster for the ages, man. Like, I think the songs in Spider-Man might actually be more coherent.
Oh my god, seriously?
Yeah, there's a bit where they have to have, like, okay, Diana's gonna fight with Camilla because they don't get along because, they're fighting over the same man. And there's a lyric that is literally, and I swear to God, this is true, the thriller in Manila between Camilla and Diana. This was a real lyric.
And was it rap? Like, did they rap that? It sounds like
no. They sang it. They sang it like a legit ballad.
It really, honestly, it really does sound like white people rapping that lyric right there, and it's just, oh my god, that is just horrible.
Yeah, there's that. There's another one. I gotta go through the list here because there's so many of them. There's like one. Where was the one? Oh, that was it. There's a bit about. This is a. I can't say it right. Ladies, if your life is gone, of course, you don't need a messy divorce. All you need is a man on a horse. That's an actual lyric.
Wow, really? You just need a man on a horse. That honestly sounds like something out of an Old Spice commercial.
It does. And the worst is the chorus is like creepy, like, reporters in like overcoats saying creepy sexual things, but in a song. Like the bit where they're saying James Hewitt did do it in our princess's bed.
Yeah, no. That's just no, man.
There's also a bit about taking a photo like a wank. That's another lyric too later on.
Oh my god. So
they're rhyming things that occasionally, and not even occasionally, they just don't work. They're just trying to rhyme whatever comes to mind. It reminds me of like when Howard Ashman was told to do more lyrics for Beauty and the Beast, and he's like, "What? I ain't gonna rhyme it with yeast. I don't know any of the words that go with east." Except this is the one where they do go with that.
Yeah, there is Weast. I learned that from SpongeBob.
Yes, Weast. That is on par with the level of... That's there. There's an entire song about her, like the big powering and ballad song is just like her singing, I am a pretty, pretty girl on a loop.
Really? That's all it is? Just I'm a pretty, pretty girl?
Yeah, there's an entire song about that revenge dress. It's like a weird, like, Wikipedia meets... I'm at a loss of words how to describe the lyrics of this thing. This was worked on for, like, years, and not a single person realized, maybe we need to take a few steps back.
Yeah, maybe this is not a good idea. And just out of curiosity, what is your opinion on the defenses? Like, personally, I do understand, like, they have probably signed contracts and they want to go and sell tickets. But how do you feel about the defenses that the actors and the producer has given to Diana the musical?
This is going to be a bit of a long take, but do you remember a game from 2013 called Ride to Hell Retribution?
Oh, yes. I do recall. Yeah.
That really terrible biker gang that was, like, probably one of the worst games ever made. I'm reminded of how Deep Silver was getting ahead of the reviewers by going, it's a bit cheesy, it's corny, but people will like it. That's the impression I'm getting here, where it's like, you people are saving face, and you are not doing a good job.
Yeah, like I said before, I just feel like this is a scenario where they're just really trying to, they want to, like, they want to, like, douse out the fire. They want to, they want to get rid of the fire, but they're using gasoline on it, and it's just making things worse. Like, this really is trying to defend something that cannot be defended. It really is that bad. And I mean, seriously, the fact, like, it really just feels like they want, like, this is ignorance. Like, what they're trying to say is just full on ignorance, where they just want, like, this is like, they are very well aware that this is tone deaf. The fact that a lot of people are accusing this, and I kind of do believe the accusations, that this is very much exploitive of the fact that they are taking, like, a very well-known figure and trying to use that in order to, like, turn that into a fun-loving musical. And especially one thing, like, I know for a fact that they really did cross the line is the fact that they are using not only a very prominent and well-known figure, but also a very well-known figure from the royal family. And you know that there is a massive audience, like, who is really into the gossip of the royal family. And a lot of people, like, to this day, still has a very strong emotional and personal attachment to Princess Diana. So when they would see something like Diana the musical happen, where they turn her life into, like, a fun-loving musical, that, like, with the lyrics that you actually just described, of course there are going to be a lot of people pissed off. Like, you could make that
Actually,
same.
I forgot the most tone deaf lyric, and that was,
oh my god, the most tone deaf lyric.
This is the worst one. This one is by far the worst because it is at the intersection of one of her best moments, a really controversial moment, and the LGBT community. There's a bit where they have a musical song about that time she was, like, hugging people who had AIDS. And one of the lyrics is, I may be unwell, but I'm handsome as hell.
Oh, what? I may be unwell, but I am handsome as well. And that's someone who's, like, a gay. That's supposed to be a gay character with AIDS.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I don't know what to say. I really, why? What? Why? Just why? Oh. And this is something that they want to defend. It's like, well, I mean, I like the fact that we're not taking it seriously. You could make the same argument if you're going to make a musical based on what happened in 9/11. I was like, yeah, I know, like, there are some people that want to make movies and cry about it, but I want to make a fun-loving comedy musical about the planes that crash on the World Trade Center. I mean, can't we have both? Can't the audience have to have their fun as well with our fun-loving 9/11 musical? You know, I feel like it's kind of the same thing. It might be an exaggeration, but you do get the idea of that same level of, like, tone deafness.
I mean, some subjects are a little bit easier to make fun of than others. If you're talented, you can make it work, but some subjects are going to be very difficult to make work. And if you don't, it's going to crash and burn terribly. I made a comparison earlier to Life is Beautiful, the famous Italian movie. It's a comedy in a concentration camp, which some people liked when it came out, but there's a lot of people that didn't like it when it first came out. Mel Brooks is actually one of them, which is funny. Everyone likes to say he's the free speech absolutist, but he's like, this is terrible. This is offensive. Don't watch it.
That was...
people are like...
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Nowadays people are just like, oh, that movie was terrible. Why'd we give that even an Oscar nomination? Ugh.
Yeah, that's actually funny with the case of Life is Beautiful, or like what people might know it as La Vita è Bella. It's kind of funny because like Mel Brooks, like technically he would be one of those technically he is one of those people that like cries out against cancel culture and like is supportive of offensive comedy and stuff like that. But La Vita è Bella seems to be the one movie that really crossed the line for him, where he says, dude, you shouldn't do that. That is offensive. I guess it goes to show.
One of the comments made a good point, though, where it's like, you were talking about 9/11 musicals. There's Come From Away, which actually is about 9/11, but it's a great musical. It's smartly not about planes hitting towers. It's about like people being diverted into Canada and the ramifications of it.
Yeah, that is definitely true. You are correct, but it really does depend on how you handle the situation. I mean, I completely forgot about Come From Away when I did that little like 9/11 reference, but yeah, that is true. But the thing is, like, you could describe Come From Away as another fun-loving musical, but they do know that when it comes to the serious aspects, they do take it seriously. But when it comes to someone's personal life, like Princess Diana, that's when you're probably taking things a little bit too far, especially when like with Princess Diana's life, it is honestly something that is very complex. And there are a lot more moments in her life where, yeah, like you probably have seen in the tabloids and stuff like that, where she can be like this fun loving girl and can sometimes be described as like this fun, silly, like carefree girl. But there is also a lot of aspects in her life that like are soul crushing, that they are pretty bad, and it shows that having that princess title can be extremely difficult.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see when this began writing, because a light themed musical about Princess Diana I can kind of imagine maybe in like the mid 2000s maybe, but it's so out of lockstep with like Me Too movement and how you depict historical women now. I mean, look at the Crown on Netflix, which has entire episodes about her bulimia and self-cutting problem, and then the Spencer movie, which is just a 3-day My Life Sucks movie. That's not exactly matching up well with a fun musical.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big thing. And it's like, and especially when trying to compare with Spencer, that's not going to work, especially when like Spencer is doing something completely different. Yes, it is based on the life of Princess Diana, but still though, the way that it handles the material is way better than what they're doing with Diana the musical. And I will say this, making a musical about Princess Diana, that can be something that could legitimately work. That is something that you can do that can actually be very enjoyable and could legitimately be tasteful. But the way that they have done so with Diana the musical is not the way to go. I mean, like, I'm not opposed to the idea of making a Diana musical. It's just there are certain things that you have to go and be really careful to go and handle so that you don't go and piss people off, which is exactly what this musical has done.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone who knew her going like, yeah, this is a fun time.
Yeah, so overall, I just wanted to highlight and take a moment to actually talk about Diana the musical, considering that it is the latest train wreck of Broadway. But still, it's just it's just amazing seeing like the defenses that they're trying to pull off. It's like, no, you're just making things so much worse. And I think this is going to be a musical that I can't imagine will definitely have its cult following. Like, there will be people who will love it in the same way that they love The Room, but still, this is just an absolute travesty. It's just a highlight that, there are certain lines that you cannot cross. Yeah, you can actually make a musical based on like these certain themes, whether it be Princess Diana or 9/11, but you got to know how to handle those situations correctly so that audiences can actually connect and not feel disgusted that it feels like you're just exploiting it. There's a big difference between Come From Away and Diana the musical.
Also, I don't see this exactly being a big hit. I actually can see this actual dying before the actual 25th anniversary of her death, which is August next year. This is not gonna last that long.
Oh no, it ain't. It certainly will not. I think it's gonna be lucky if it'll even survive this year.
Yeah, that's my impression of too. But I will say, there's always a good thing that comes from tragedy, and that is there's been so many amazing reviews and articles written about this, and the titles just kind of sell themselves. The Guardian gave it 1 star, saying, "Springtime for glamour and victimhood, winter for Windsors and Charles."
Yes. Oh, that is beautiful. Yeah. All right.
There's a website I really love called like alternateendings.com, and that one just called Die Another Day, but it's D-I.
Diana Another Day.
Yep, and then my favorite one, which was this comment that was, "Springtime for Diana, we're driving at a faster pace, look out, here comes the tunnel race."
Oh my god. And already those are way better lyrics than what's already in Diana the Musical.
Yeah, even as a joke, it still flows better.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so I want to go into the chat wall, and I would love to know your opinions on this, guys. What are your thoughts about Diana the Musical and the defenses that the producer and the actors are trying to give to this musical? Are you on the side of the actors and you want to support like this fun-loving little musical? Or do you agree with us with which this thing is just absolutely tasteless? Let me know what you think. Okay. Let's see here. Oh my goodness, where do I even begin? This Diana musical was so disastrous and bad, it's actually hilarious in my opinion. The lyrics, people who worked on the musical defended the reviews, and everything else is a total huge can of worms. They really put out the fire with gasoline on this one. I got not much to say, but I have to agree with you, Matt. The crew were just being ignorant to people who hated it. Diana is so bad that it makes Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark look like a masterpiece. Oh, let's see what else we got here. I have so many questions. How the flip am I supposed to react to something this desperate and silly? It's like making a jukebox musical off of the Sandy Hook massacre while its headline number being an emotional ballad of pumped up kicks. Plus, I'd call the producer's statement on the matter the worst take I've heard all week. But then again, I've heard someone unironically say that the Hawkeye show was anti-Semitic because it took place at Christmas. So I'll say nothing. Overall, just what? Yeah, I gotta agree there.
The correct statement.
Yeah. Why are you not celebrating Hanukkah? That makes you anti-Semitic. The only non-anti-Semitic holiday movie out there is Eight Crazy Nights. Oh,
it has better songs than this, probably.
Oh, probably. It is a musical, technically.
In the most technical terms.
Yeah. Let's see. I think we're in a golden age of terrible musicals with beautiful hate watch value like Spider-Man, Cats, and Diana. I wonder if they'll do a musical on the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the songs are based on K-pop, and the actors are white people playing Japanese civilians praising the Americans who came to help after the war. Okay, maybe this is too far, that I'd hope nobody would think of doing it in such a way. Diana anime is more respectful, and she was alive at the time.
There was an anime? There probably was.
Probably, you never know.
Man, the cult of her of Diana is really weird. Like, there's been about like 5 or 6 things that have come out just this year.
It's the fan base of the Royals. Like, those group of people alone are already crazy and weird.
It's like a wrestling fan club where it's like you're gonna boo the hero and then you're gonna yell at the heel. And Charles is always the heel.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Wow, just wow. I thought the prince was really insulting to the British royal family. This here just made that show look like freaking VeggieTales in comparison. I honestly don't know how to react to these news. All I can think of is a quote from the Angry Video Game Nerd. What were they thinking? Yeah, and also that is actually a very good question. I was just about to ask, which one you think is the most tasteless? Diana the Musical?
This one.
Or more so than the prince?
Yeah, yes, I think so.
Really? Can you explain?
Did the prince kind of have a flippant quote song about AIDS? I don't think so.
Okay, good point. Wow.
I mean, the only way this could have been worse is if Prince, the one royal guy showed up and goes, hey, Bob, I'm gonna go out to hang out with my friend Jeffrey Epstein. See you later.
Oh, yeah, like
worse.
with Prince Edward. Yes. Oh, my God. All right, let's see what we got here. I'll read 2 more comments before we jump into the next story. I have seen Spencer in theaters, and I thought Kristen Stewart was great as Princess Diana, so I hope she gets an Oscar nomination for this, as well as the 4th season of The Crown with Emma Corrin playing Princess Diana, and she was great too. As for making a musical out of Princess Diana, it is just distasteful, and it makes me want to avoid this as possible upon hearing terrible things about it. What's next? Is Hollywood going to make a COVID musical film out of it? We got Songbird, and that one sucked. Oh, trust me, I think that's going to be that's inevitable. I think it's going to happen.
They're going to do it. They're going to do some grand musical just about people being stuck indoors and singing and elections and crazy nonsense and racial justice. They're going to do it.
Oh, there's going to be, yeah, there is going to be, yeah. I'm expecting a COVID musical that's going to happen soon. Like that's going to be inevitable. All right, one more comment here. All I can say is, what the hell is this? I honestly never heard of this musical. Oh my God, everything you describe about this musical sounds absolutely horrible, and it honestly feels like an insult to Princess Diana, as she is probably rolling in her grave. Thank you for giving me a great laugh with this story. Seriously, what's next? A musical based on the Hindenburg disaster? Hey, you never know. Oh, the humanity. Look at this going down on the humanity. I need to think of better lyrics for this. I'm not a lyricist, and I think it really shows.
They could make that work, actually, because the last survivor of the Hindenburg, I believe, actually just died last year. So you could have this big, like, yes, when I was younger, I was on this big blimp that was called the Hindenburg, and then you could be happy song, and then everything goes tragedy. You could make it work if you were talented. That's kind of the thing I should maybe explain most. Talent matters a lot when it comes to taste.
Do you basically make a Hindenburg version of Titanic? Because what you're describing is the Hindenburg version of Titanic.
Yeah, I guess, but maybe minus the romance and just maybe focus more on the human tragedy.
Maybe. All right, but go on.
Yeah, there's been musicals that have touched on like really iffy subjects, and they've worked. They were also good.
Yeah, but anyways, let's move on to our next story. And what we got here, speaking of tragedies, we actually got an update regarding a story that I have previously talked about here in this podcast. And when I mentioned this to you, Tyler, you mentioned to me that you have a lot to say regarding this one.
Mm-hmm. I unfortunately do.
So yes, with that said, let's get a little bit more serious, and we're going to get right back into it. And fudge nabbit is the wrong button. Let's go and give us a little update regarding what's happening with Rust. So I'm going to do a quick explanation about what happened. And you guys probably do recall about a small indie movie that is in the works right now called Rust, which stars and is being produced by Alec Baldwin, or at least he's one of the producers. Now, what happened during this production is that at one point last month, there was a very tragic incident that occurred that while they were rehearsing for one scene, Alec Baldwin fired his gun, and it ended up killing the director of photography, Haley Hutchins. And from there, the more that we do learn about what happened during this production, the more that you realize that it's not just one little accident that occurred. It's just a series of massive, unfortunate, and disastrous events that ultimately led to this moment becoming inevitable. We learn of how the production was so poorly handled. The producers were doing a terrible job in terms of management, where even on the day of, like just hours before the incident occurred, there were some crew members that did legitimately quit because of the poor treatment that they were receiving. Not to mention that there were already some accusations that occurred about who is ultimately responsible for this. Some people were accusing the first assistant director because he does have a history of poor and really bad behavior when he would be working on sets. There was also the armorer Anyways, there is also the armorer, who is said to be a 24-year-old girl with no experience working on movie sets whatsoever. Some people are blaming Alec Baldwin, some people are blaming producers, and so on and so forth. There is no concrete answer as of yet to what happened or who is responsible. To this day, police are investigating, and the film crew, like the entire production of it, has officially shut down until the police can finally clear off their investigation. Once they have found a conclusion, or they no longer need to do investigations on the set, that's when they're going to go and resume the entire production. However, this update that I have here does add an extra layer to what happened, and does give a bit of a more interesting perspective. And I do think it is worth talking about, because right now, of course, this is going to be something that will be inevitable, but someone is suing the Rust producers, including Alec Baldwin. And in this case here, it is from the script supervisor, Mamie Mitchell, in which, as you could probably imagine, she was horribly traumatized to what happened. And she knows very well that because she was involved with a production like Rust, that this is going to seriously damage her career. She even has a quote here, reading from my source here on the Huffington Post. "I'll never forget what happened on this set of Rust that day. I relive the shooting and the sound of the explosion and the gun over and over again. I am depressed. I don't feel safe. I feel like at any moment anything could happen to me and to those that I care about that are standing close to me. I don't have a sense of guardrails in my life to keep me safe. I'm frightened of the future. The violent tragedy has taken away the joy in my life." But why is it specifically that she is suing them? Why is it that this is really noteworthy to talk about here? Well, apparently, one fascinating piece of news that she did brought up was regarding the fact that apparently on the scene that they were rehearsing in which the incident occurred, apparently does not require a gun. That aspect of having a gun there, that was completely improvised. To go and read specifically here, it states, in her lawsuit, Mitchell says that Baldwin cocked and fired the loaded gun, even though the upcoming scene to be filmed did not call for the cocking and firing of a firearm. As script supervisor, Mitch was very familiar with the precise details of each scene and was in charge of maintaining continuity throughout the film. She alleges that the gun was improperly handed to Baldwin by the film's first assistant director, Dave Halls, not the armorer or prop master who was supposed to manage the handoff of firearms to actors. Mitchell is represented by high-profile attorney Gloria Allred, who said Wednesday that what happened on the set does not constitute simple negligence on Alec Baldwin's part of the producers of Rust. So that is so far the new piece of information that we've gotten that does paint a brand new picture upon what happened on the set of Rust, is the fact that, well, apparently Alec Baldwin shouldn't even have a gun in the first place. And yes, she does accuse Baldwin to be responsible for this, where she even added, Mr. Baldwin chose to play Russian roulette when he fired a gun without checking it and without having the armorer to do so in his presence. His behavior and that of the producers of Rust was reckless. So, Tyler, you said to me that you got a lot of things to say about this. Go ahead. The stage is yours.
Okay. I'm going to start off with the fact that this lady, I understand, is going to go through a lot of trauma. That must have been a really horrible event to happen right in front of you when you didn't expect it to happen. I understand that fully. And there will be many lawsuits towards a lot of people, because a lot of people are at fault of this. It's not just one or two people. It was a systemic thing. The production was meant to be 21 days, which is abnormally short. The budget was like about $5 million, I believe, which is pretty low. So there was rushing aspects. People were being hired on cheap. Some of these people weren't fully unionized. There's a lot of problems. But what I will say is, I think, she's being a little bit unfair to Alec Baldwin in this case. I'm not an Alec Baldwin fan. I'm gonna say it, when you're checking the gun, that is actually something the actor's not allowed to do because of the guild. That's supposed to be the armorer and the assistant director. They're the ones supposed to do that. The fact that both those people didn't do their job properly is why this happened. And the actual details about how the gun went off is actually a bit unclear. She seems to imply he was like screwing around and like fired it. There's also been claims it was kind of like it went off on its own, which apparently happened on the set with 2 other separate times, apparently. So it's unclear exactly what happened, but if he did actually aim it and shoot, that is not great. But it shouldn't have happened to begin with if 2 other people have been doing their job, which is the armorer and the assistant director. And as you pointed out, they both have a really bad history of safety. The assistant director, I believe, actually was on a set where a gun did go off, and I believe it almost hit the actor who played Creed from the Office. And
Wait,
the girl,
do you mean Michael
actually,
B. Jordan or?
Oh, Creed! No, Creed, as in Creed Bratton, the actor. From,
Oh, Creed
The
Bratton.
Office.
Sorry, I was thinking of the movie Creed. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. And the girl, I believe her name is Hannah Gutierrez Reed. Yeah, she's only 24. She's only in this because her dad's a really famous armorer named Thad Reed. He actually was the armorer for the movie The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, which she just saw fairly recently. So she's in there because of nepotism. She's only done one other movie, and apparently on that set, the gun went off, and she almost gave a gun to a freaking child at one point. And also, every picture of her on social media is just like, ooh, look at me, I'm holding these guns so cool. Clearly isn't taking her job seriously remotely. She's also been trying to say it was sabotage. Yeah, that didn't happen. No. Her best excuse is, I just don't know how those, like...
Well, one thing I do want to ask, though, because there is also another piece of information that could lead to why is it there were live rounds in there in the first place. And what I did learn, apparently, like, there was a moment where, like, some of the crew members are not innocent either, where there was at one point they were playing that game, like, they took the prop guns and they were basically playing that game where, you know, you line up all the cans and you just shoot them down one by one like a shooting gallery. Like, apparently that was one thing.
It's called plinking. Yeah.
Yeah, they were full on plinking on the set. So from there, do you feel like that should have been held to the responsibility of the armorer, or what do you think about like that extra piece of information?
Well, yeah, that one's really bad because that just, I think, kind of says how the live rounds got there. They're just messing around with like bullets and just went, well, put this back. Someone will fix it, not me. That follows the armor mostly because she's the one that has to check the guns. It's supposed to be safe. Safety is literally her main priority. The fact that she didn't do that and then hand it to someone who then also didn't do his job by checking it means that complete systemic failure of safety, which was already a problem anyway. Like the people who left off set, they were complaining about safety, going like, the firearm safety is absolutely non-existent. They're just rushing things, not doing anything right. This was just a disaster waiting to happen on every regard. Those 2 people deserve the most scrutiny, but also they were hired by the producers, probably because they were on the cheaper side, so those people probably deserve some level of blame, and Alec Baldwin is one of the producers. It's actually his movie. It was his idea. He's the star.
Was it his movie?
Yeah, he was the one who pitched the idea. It was a personal pet project for him.
Okay. Oh, okay. I understand, because I was about to say, like, there have been some theories as to why Alec Baldwin was there. And some people were mentioning that they wanted to have a big star like Alec Baldwin. And like the fact that he is a producer is one of the only ways that he could be involved with it so that he could also get some profit from the feature itself. So I was thinking that he was mainly there as an actor instead of a producer. But if that is the case, then yeah, maybe Alec Baldwin should have responsibility. What? Go on.
He has a producer and the star. That is correct.
Yeah. So in that way, yeah, I definitely do agree with you that Alec Baldwin shouldn't hold responsibility because he's the one that shot the gun. But I do agree with you where he should have some responsibility because of the fact that he is one of the producers and that the whole production was so poorly handled that at least in that regard, he should have some accountability there.
Yeah, exactly. This did not need to happen. Helena Hutchinson Hutchers should not have been killed. That should be obvious.
Mm-hmm.
It also speaks very ill to just how bad the production was, because this doesn't happen that often. I could only think of 4 instances in film history where this actually happened, and 2 of them were like 1915 and like 1990. You know,
Yeah, and
And
yeah, I remember
yeah.
talking about this before, and one of them was apparently Bruce Lee's son, which is technically the most famous case.
Yeah, that's the one everyone's thinking. It was the Brandon Lee case with like a yeah, that was pretty bad and led to a lot of changes in the industry. The other two I was thinking of was in 1984, like incident with a guy named John Eric Helixum, who was like a self-inflicted blank cartridge gunshot by accident. And the other one was from 1915, which was a movie called The Captive, where they just shot live ammunition and like one of the bullets hit like an extra. But that's how they used to do things back in the 30s. Like it is literally like safety. What's that? We're just gonna load real bullets and just shoot at the people. There's a famous incident I think in 34 when they were making the Public Enemy, where there's a scene where they take a Thompson and like shoot machine gun bullets right at like the star. I don't remember the star of the movie yet, but it almost killed him because those were real bullets. So unfortunately, you expect that for that era. But nowadays, you have to be trying to actually have this happen. The incompetence level is just on a scale that's almost incomprehensible.
Absolutely. And one more thing I would like to ask is regarding your opinion, the fact that a lot of people are now demanding for the ban of guns on movie sets, that they feel like the guns themselves are the biggest problem and that they want to go and like put a flat out ban on actually using real guns or guns that could hold bullets or whatever. They like that seems to be the big movement. And even like some big name celebrities like Dwayne Johnson are making a vow to not use real guns on their sets. Do you think that's going to be something that will solve the big problem that Rust has faced on its production?
I mean, well, obviously having fake guns and putting CGI effects in there will definitely prevent this from happening, but as I said before, this is like 4 instances that I know of over the course of 100 years. This isn't usually the gun problem. This is usually systemic failure of safety and rushing things and just not caring about people's, protection. This is actually more in line with like the Twilight Zone incident from 81 where like one of the actors got killed by a helicopter crashing on him. That was systemic failure of safety. That was less the helicopter was the problem. So honestly, it seems to be more personally, I'm like, that'll probably fix the problem, but it's more a case of I think you need to look into what's actually rushing these studio productions and people not caring. Maybe more unions would be a way to fix this because there were no real unions involved with this movie.
Nah, I definitely agree with you there. That's how I feel, honestly. Like, yeah, I do understand the sentiments about like, not using real firearms on the sets. Like, I do get that. And there is a part of me that does support it, but that's not going to solve the real issue of the matter. That's not going to solve like the root of the problem of all this. And yeah, I feel like there should be like, even though they're all portraying this as like a gun problem, the reality of the situation is more the fact that this is a production problem. Like this is a fact that it's so poorly handled, and the fact that they were given such a low budget that they were desperate to try to take shortcuts, including having non-union people working on it and having people who are not legitimate professionals. Like, yeah, you do have to spend a few extra million, but it is worth it for people's well-being.
Yeah. Another good example is the first thing that occurred to me when this incident happened. It wasn't even Brandon Lee. It was, you ever heard of a movie from 2014 called Midnight Rider?
Sounds familiar.
It was supposed to be a movie. It never came out because of what I'm about to tell you. It was like a movie about Greg Allman of the Allman Brothers Band, and it was going to be shot in Georgia, and it was going to be this, fun musical film, but the director wanted to film on a train, like on like a near a bridge where trains pass by, and he asked like CVX, oh, can we shoot here? And they went, no, you can't. So they shot there anyway, and in the middle of the shot, a train showed up, and I believe it was the assistant director got run over and killed.
Damn. Oh
yeah.
My God. Yeah, that really is on their end. Like that is if they said no, that's a no, man. Like seriously, no means no.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a camerawoman. Her name was like Sarah Jones. It was a really big deal when this happened in 2014. The movie was shut down, so it never happened. And so yeah, I'm trying to remember how this worked. Oh yeah, it never happened, and it led to a lot of changes in the industry. And how do I put this? I'm blanking on the word right now. I don't know why I'm doing that right now.
What do you mean?
It was a big deal at the time, and it led to changes and how people did safety. And it was also very easy to figure out who was at fault for this, because the courts quickly found, oh, the director's at fault, oh, and the producer's at fault because you all said yes to this, and they said, and the train company said no, you can't do this. And I believe that guy went to jail for about a year. That's about it.
I see.
Yeah. So, that's what I think is going to come from this. There's going to be a lot of investigations, a lot of lawsuits, definitely on the financial standpoint. I think there's going to be some people are probably going to end up going to jail for manslaughter, presumably the armorer and the assistant director for probably not a long time. And I think the ban on the guns is probably not going to last very long. I think people are eventually going to move on or forget. Because, well, there were changes from that Midnight Rider incident. They also weren't exactly stuff that sticks in the mind, and at a point, people kind of just forgot about it.
Yeah, probably. And do you think like this could also affect like people's careers who were involved with this, especially like the fact that people are all highlighting this as like Alec Baldwin's production? Do you think like this would also like seriously take a stab, like this will also ultimately be a stab to his career?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people are more sympathetic to him because of he didn't realize it was going to be a loaded gun. Well, some people will probably dog him for this for the rest of his life, but those people are probably going to dog him anyway.
Yeah, true.
He'll be fine. Instead of those two people, their careers are over.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we'll be hearing about that. Like, yeah, the next time we will hear about like the armorer or the first assistant director, they will not be good things. It will not be about their new opportunities, that what they're going to be working on next.
Yeah. Their next opportunity will be county courts.
Exactly. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what did you think about the new update on Rust? I honestly don't know what else to say. If you got any opinions that you would like to share about this, let me know in the chat wall. Okay, let's see what we got here. Somebody thought Michael Jackson's surprise gun in the Smooth Criminal song was a good idea. No, it really wasn't. Doesn't matter if the bullets were blanks, it's still dangerous. Same applies to Rust. Someone should not have died by someone else playing improv with a gun. Baldwin isn't solely responsible, but he is one of the producers who bears some responsibility to how the production leads to this point where the death didn't need to happen. It's all about people in charge that want to save cash. Exactly. It really is the people at the top who are responsible because it's their responsibility to run the production. Let's see here. Not to sound like a broken record, but I'm not going to name names as to who was truly responsible for Hutchins' death. Even if there are signs pointing to the assistant director and the armorer. But regardless, I'll be sure to keep an eye on the lawsuit to see how it develops. But for now, all I'll say is that in case it hasn't been said enough, may Helena Hutchins rest in peace. Of course.
Of course, yeah.
This is honestly a massive can of worms. I do agree that there has been a stricter rule. There has to be stricter rules on set in order to keep the cast and crew safe, so stuff like this doesn't happen again, like on the sets of films like The Crow and Deadpool 2. Also, I do think Alec Baldwin does deserve a bit of the blame because he was a producer, so that he should have taken better action. Fair enough.
Oh god, Deadpool 2 is that the one where it's like the stunt woman, I believe, died?
Yes. Yeah, there was a stunt woman who did die because of an accident, of course. Let's see what else we got here. This is honestly evidence that Rust is becoming one of the worst productions of all time. I have no other words other than may Helena Hutchins rest in peace, of course. And I guess there isn't a whole lot of comments here, so I'll read one more before we go into the last one. Pray for Hutchins. I don't even know why it is a good idea to bring real guns and not prop guns on a movie like Rust. Well, technically they are prop guns, but they can still be used like real guns. They should ban real guns in movies, and I am focusing more on animated movies like live action movies for safety. So yeah, that's pretty much the big thing that we got here. So yeah, may Helena Hutchins rest in peace, and go on.
I do have two other last points, which is one, I do not foresee this movie actually starting production again. They say they're waiting for it to calm down, but I have a feeling that's probably not going to happen.
Really?
Yeah,
So,
I think
so it's over. This Rust movie is never going to happen?
Well, they say it's going to happen, but I'm like, I just feel like the bad press is going to be just to such a degree that it's not going to be like The Crow. It's going to be like the Midnight Riders movie, and people are just going to just leave. Because the Midnight Riders, what happened in that one was that everyone just stopped showing up on set. They went, I'm done with this movie. It's terrible. And someone died, and then they just couldn't hire anyone more, and then they just, gave up. So that might happen, personally speaking. And two, not to stir the pot, but, we want to ban all guns in film after basically 2 people have died in the last 100 years. Not after all the thousands of people who die from real gun violence. Okay.
Yeah, that is a good point. I mean, yeah, that is a controversial statement, but you ain't wrong there. That is actually true. Let's see. One more Actually, I do have one more comment here. This is interesting. I am still not up to speed about the story, so I am still not sure about who ultimately is responsible for this, especially since this is still being investigated. A question I do have, however, about this incident is, considering the troubled production, was the live rounds loaded before the inspection or after the inspection? If it was before, Hannah certainly has to take a lot to blame. If it was after, though, that raises a lot more questions. I don't think there is a conclusive answer to this. I don't know if they legitimately
I think there was no inspection. That seems to be the general consensus at the moment, is that there was no inspection.
So yeah, it was most likely before.
Yeah, before then, since no one bothered to check.
Yeah, okay. That does raise a good point there.
Yeah.
All right, so with that said, we got one more story to go. And yes, this is indeed the grand finale of this. And we actually got a very special grand finale here.
Oh, I believe we do.
Yes, and it's actually because why you are here, Tyler, because there actually is a little video that you put out. Actually, I cannot call it a little video because it is actually pretty massive, that I would like to go and talk about. And I honestly do think that this is actually very fascinating here, because this is actually a video regarding the life of Jack the Ripper. So you guys probably know about Jack the Ripper, one of the most notorious villains in history, like right up there with Attila the Hun, or like Vlad the Impaler, or Hitler, Mussolini, Donald Trump, and all those guys. So like Jack the Ripper, one of the most notorious murderers, alongside like Blackbeard and other people like that. So with Jack the Ripper, you actually did help out work on a major video, which is apparently almost 2 hours long, called Jack the Ripper, The Forgotten Five. And you can find it right now on Debunk File. And this is actually a very fascinating video. Even though it is about 2 hours long, this video is actually about who the real identity of Jack the Ripper is. And unlike any other video that does talk about Jack the Ripper, this also prominently highlights the 5 women that were murdered by Jack the Ripper. And I think that is one thing that I would applaud this video for, is the fact that the women are actually highlighted and actually does take a moment to talk about who they are and what ultimately led to their deaths. And Tyler, I just would like to go and ask, what is it that led you to go and work on this video in particular? Why Jack the Ripper as your next big subject?
Oh, okay. Well, I can explain that, because the first major video I actually did was about the Black Dahlia, Elizabeth Short, or Betty Short, she preferred. And that was like July of 2020, I believe, or maybe around that time. And that actually turned out to be a pretty big video. It's actually, I think it's still in the top 10 if you actually Google that into YouTube. It's about 60,000 views.
Oh, my.
And that turned out pretty well. That's actually how I got started at Debunk File. And hung around and started doing more and more history videos. And then for Halloween that year, we were like, okay, we're going to do Zodiac, because that's the famous uncaught serial killer for the U.S. All right. And then ever since then, there's always comments going, you got to complete the true crime trilogy. You got to do the Ripper next. And that was something we always kind of knew we were going to do eventually. And we figured, okay, let's do it for Halloween this year. That'll work. I wanted it to be in the vein as the other two videos, which were more, here's the story, and then here's the suspects, and moving on. A very standard fare. But this one was different because of the material I read. Because, okay, I bought all the famous books about Jack the Ripper, your Donald Reuben Lowe's, your Philip Sugden books, all of them. But there was one book that stuck out to me that left a really strong impression, and I actually would go far as to say it's one of the most interesting books I've read in the last couple of years, and that was historian Hallie Rubenhold's 2019 book, just The Five. That's what it's called. It's a book just about the lives of the 5 women. There's no speculation on the Ripper. Every chapter ends right before they actually were murdered or just directly after. There's no descriptions of the violence. It's absolutely captivating, and it shines a light on forgotten people and their lives. It's actually funny that this video came out. This project came out today because we're talking about Princess Diana, a woman that definitely deserves a better perspective. We're talking about Lyanna Hutchins, who deserves more respect than she's getting. This is in that line. These women were actually quite fascinating people that lived long lives-ish and did a lot more than get murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read that book, I kind of felt like, okay, all these Ripper videos have come out. Like, actually, right before I did my video, the YouTuber Limio came out with his own video, which is about an hour. That's really well done. But I noticed that he cited the book, but he just said it like, well, I cited it for names and dates. He didn't actually go into the victims that much. And I just saw an angle just to do something new and different, and something that I felt was just kind of, I couldn't really write a video that's just about like, and then the Ripper killed the woman after reading that book, because these weren't people. These were, mothers, daughters, sisters, wives, people that lived through a terrible time because of the economic troubles. They were labeled things they weren't. They weren't actually prostitutes. Only 2 of them actually were. One, if we're going to be even really blunt. There's just so much misinformation and just dehumanizing aspects, and then there's just the community surrounding it, which, if you ever read true crime stories or go into forums, they're terrible. They just, I think it's XYZ person who did it, without much theories. They also don't care about the victims. I got that problem already. I knew that from the Zodiac video, because I got actually harassed by some crazy guy that obsesses over the Zodiac killer and not giving a damn about the victims. Ripper fanboys are the worst, though. Yeah, Ripper fanboys, there's the term Ripperology, which makes them sound legitimate. They're actually more on the same lineup with, you can compare them to like Bigfoot hunters and ancient alien believers. They're like that. They'll focus all day and night about, I think it was this person that was the killer. But what about the women? Yeah, what about them? They don't care. They're just like a jigsaw puzzle.
So from there, is it because of that book, The Five, that inspired you to really go deeper into go more into the women, more so than actually about the identity of Jack the Ripper?
Absolutely. Although I wanted that one to be a little bit different than the other videos, which are about 40-ish minutes long, but not supremely long. But this one, I felt like I had to tell their individual stories in some unique way. And then when I was, finished reading The Five, I think a lot while I'm just doing menial tasks like mowing the lawn or doing like casual work. And it hit me on an idea that I'm just like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. I was thinking of the famous book, The Things We Carried by Tim O'Brien. You've heard of it, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it's a story by a Vietnam vet that's both real life stories and also not. It's like a weird cross in between. It's more or less explaining through fiction the realities better than the truth can. And there's a bit of like first person segments where it'd be like explaining like, oh, I killed this Vietnam soldier, but then I imagined his entire life like this and he was a good person. That stuck with me, and I just thought, wait a minute, I can mix this with The Five, and then it's like, okay, I got a great idea. How about I tell each woman's story as much as I can, quoting The Five extensively, and then, I have to get into obviously the murder stuff more than Hallie did, because unfortunately, there's a mystery to it, so I have to kind of indulge a little bit of what people want. Thought, okay, what's the ultimate way to humanize them? These first-person segments where it's like the last couple minutes of these people's lives, but not like focusing on like violence, but focusing on the things they probably were thinking, which were more personal and relatable to their personality. Which, problems with family, dying of tuberculosis, religious beliefs, these sort of things. And I hit on that, and that just this is working incredibly well in my head, and I wrote it out and flowed perfectly well, and I managed to get in contact with a couple of voice actors, actually. Most prominent one was probably a woman from recent Resident Evil game, actually, a great woman named Katie O'Hagan. She actually does the first-person segments, and after that, just fell into place, kept getting these people I know, some professional voice work here, and then that's where I met this guy right here, actually. This guy actually shows up in the video.
Yes. Do you mind if I actually show that little clip, actually, of my voice performance?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's also another part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this. This is actually a video that I also was involved, and Tyler asked me if I could play a voice in this and play who is one of the people that are alleged to be the real Jack the Ripper. So just gonna go and play that out for you if you guys want to hear it.
Oh yeah, it's pretty well done, I'll say.
Hold on, I'll just hold on. Sorry, I just want to play it right now.
What time is it? I haven't felt the sunlight on me in a long time. Where am I again? I tried to move my arms, but I just can't. These men try to make me eat, but I'm not hungry. Why can't they understand? They call me strange names. I don't think they know my name. What is my name? I can't even remember anymore. Why am I here? Did I do something wrong? Was it about those women? I want to go home to my family. I can't even remember what my home or family is. I feel weak and want to go to sleep. But none of these people want me to sleep. I just can't help it. I tell them over and over, yet they don't understand. I think I used to get mad at these people and fight them. I'm too tired for that. I'll just rest now. It's okay. I hope someone remembers me. Being alone forever is a sad thing.
So yeah, that was actually me right there.
Yeah,
guess
that was you.
Not too bad if I say so myself.
I'd say pretty great. You're supposed to be Nathan Kaminsky, who was a suspect that has only really come around in the last 20 years or so. It's actually reasonable enough. A lot of Ripper suspects are really terrible when you look into them, but that guy, maybe. And the fact that the guy went into a insane asylum and died chained to a bed from tuberculosis gave me an interesting idea of perspective, because there's a sympathetic quality to that, but also, might have killed 5 innocent women. So I wanted to depict that as well, but also not to take away focus from of course, the subject, which is the 5 women.
Yeah, and just want to know, by the way, considering that we are talking about Jack the Ripper, do you feel like you've managed to figure out who could be the real identity of Jack the Ripper, or is that still considered a major mystery?
Like I said, that was the best suspect I had, which is imperfect. There are problems with that theory, but there's also parts that line up decently enough. I honestly, to quote Hallie Rubenhold, almost don't even care who it is, because it's been 133 years. They're never going to solve that mystery. There's not going to be a sudden DNA evidence that comes up out of nowhere. Actually, that was claimed, I believe, 2 years back, and it was complete nonsense. It's just it's a story you can't solve because the police didn't even actually have a real clue who it was. There's a lot of files missing because of the London Blitz and just throwing stuff out because you need more space. There's reports that they couldn't even figure out they weren't even prostitutes back then. They couldn't even figure that out. How are you going to figure out the actual murder? And technology at the time was so limited. Like DNA evidence, that would have been science fiction to anyone in 1888. Fingerprinting, that wasn't done until 1892. Criminology, that didn't come around until the 1890s. Like crime lab, 1907. There was nothing you could do beyond interrogate people, look around, and hopefully catch the guy in the middle of it. There wasn't much of a chance. If it happened 20 years afterwards, he would have been caught on the first murder probably, and there would be no story. As I say in my own video, it doesn't matter. He's nobody. He was never anyone important. I don't know who it was, but I can tell you the type of person it was. It wasn't a doctor. Wasn't anyone smart. Wasn't anyone clever. Was anyone special. It was just some guy who had a burning hatred for women that just kept killing and then stopped. That's all he is. This was kept alive by tabloid journalism. In fact, one of the papers that was a big seller was The Sun, which also made a lot of money off of Princess Diana as well, so some things just don't change.
I see. Now, one thing I will say is that it's very interesting with the video that you helped make with the Jack the Ripper video, because it's very similar to the last project you worked on with Anne Bonny, and that is regarding the fact that you did talk about two figures whom like their personalities and who people think they are entirely different than who they actually are in real life, and especially how their legacy of that version of the figures like continues on, and like they kind of became legends in their own right. So in your opinion, what do you think about what people conceive, or like what makes you think the Jack the Ripper legend has continued on for so long and it still stands as like something that is well known amongst people?
I'd say because of the era it was reported in. It was reported in 1888. There were serial killers before this. Lord, you can go back to like ancient China or Rome or like Ireland and find serial killers, like people you could reasonably call serial killers anyway. The oldest serial killer in England was from the 1680s. It was a woman named Elizabeth Ridgway. You can find someone from the 1800s. I think her name was Mary Ann Cott in the 1870s. Jack the Ripper wasn't even the worst serial killer in London in the 1880s. That was a woman named Amelia Dwyer who was like drowning hundreds of children. But none of these people are remembered because they weren't reported on. This was at the perfect time of the British Empire at their peak. The popularity of newspapers and the printing press made anything could be sold in a moment. And the ghastly nature of the murders led everyone to just keep reading about it, even though a lot of people didn't care. The Queen Victoria certainly wrote about it, but not in a I'm concerned about these people, but more I'm concerned this makes our empire look bad sort of way. It was just media frenzy, and eventually it stopped, but at that point, it's hard to forget a indelible image of guy in top hat with knife going after women, and then that started inspiring literature. Like in the middle of the actual murder, there was like poems that were written about it, and then a decade later, we're gonna write novels and books, and then the turn of the century when film starts coming around, we're gonna start making film, and then it just kept going, including music and more movies and video games and TV and just about every medium. And then after a while, you just reach this diluted point of none of this means anything. You're just making money off it because everyone knows it. There was a baseball team that was called the London Rippers at one point. There are slot machines that have his image on it. You play as him in one of the Assassin's Creed games, like straight up, you play as him, and I'm pretty sure that's the only time you ever play as a real life serial killer in a video game. Yeah, it's media legacy of this person is wider than certain wars. Like freaking Zulu War has less of a legacy than this, and it's awe-inspiring to look at just how nothing special about it. I could think of worse murderers that did worse things to more people, but no one remembers them.
So
this guy.
So it's just the iconography of some guy with a top hat murdering women.
Yeah, it's the iconography. It's the way it was reported. The ghastly nature of it. That's it. It just if it happened at any other time period in any other place, you wouldn't know about them.
I see. That is very interesting. So I would like to now go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you have any extra questions you would like to know about Jack the Ripper that you would like to ask to Tyler? If there are any additional questions, more information you would like to know about, feel free to go and ask, if you guys have any. I see there is one where someone is asking, is Jack the Ripper more scary than Brady Hartfield?
I don't know who that is, but it's not even a case of just, there's terror involved, but it's kind of just, he's a nobody with a knife that just went after women that were honestly there just for It's also the problem too. Everyone keeps saying that they're prostitutes. We're like, well, they were out late, so they kind of deserved it in a way. Like, most of them were out because of economic reasons, because Victorian London was just the worst place to live. The reason why Charles Dickens made so much money off of Oliver Twist and poverty, and I mean, I'm gonna even go as far as to say London poverty of the Victorian age is what led to freaking the rise of Karl Marx. If you actually read Das Kapital, I believe it was his friend Friedrich Engels literally talks about the workhouse being the thing that inspired him to actually become a communist. That's how bad it was. And the workhouses were basically criminalizing poverty, making it so bad that you would want to be poor, if that's a choice. So that's why these people were out there. Because no one cared about them, because there was no social safety nets, because people didn't care about women that had, divorced their husband or were, not perfect people. The lady in the house was an actual term where it's like, no, you want your woman to be a lady in the house. You don't want to be one of those new women with, like, rights.
I see what you mean. And they clarify, by the way, that Brady is a villain from the Stephen King novel Mr. Mercedes.
I don't know. I never read that book. I do know there was one character in a Stephen King novel that was inspired by a crime about a century afterwards. There was a minor character in Dr. Sleep who is very clearly based on the serial killer Myra Hindley of the 1960s, who was sometimes compared to Jack the Ripper because he went after children in a really awful kind of way.
Right.
Actually, even the name Ripper. How many killers do you know with the suffix of the Ripper? There was a guy in the 70s that was called like the Yorkshire Ripper. There's like the Ipsyle Ripper. There was a guy called Jack the Stripper in the 1950s. How many people are inspired, just even name-wise, by this one individual?
It's a marketable name.
It's an industry. How many books come out every year? Quite a few. Always a movie, always a TV show, always a book, always a song, always something.
You gotta get yourself in the Ripper industry.
And that's not even a joke. It's actually the most bleak thing when you just think about all this like ink that has been spilled on the pages of writing about the man, and then this is the first book that's written about the women in 2019 from an event from 1888. That's depressing.
Yeah. There is one interesting comment here. I love the Ripper video Tyler did. I was already sympathetic to sex workers and the circumstances that drove/forced them to the profession. They are always someone's mother, daughter, sister, and friend. I often listen to true crimes YouTubers, and most of the ones I listen to are women, and they mostly talk about victims of crimes to humanize them. I'm glad your video focuses on who these women were and their story. They didn't deserve their deaths, not when there were much worse crimes. Okay, so that's very nice.
Absolutely, I agree. I mentioned the sex worker thing because I'm like, well, I mentioned that in a lot of the video that they weren't all of them, but even if they were, that doesn't really change my opinion on the matter. It just makes me more infuriated that everyone just simplifies it since they weren't. Like, the first woman was, she was a tramp. She was homeless. Back then in Victorian society, there was almost no difference between that and a prostitute. Second one was dying of tuberculosis and made money through crochet work. The third one was a prostitute, but also made money like working as like a maid for the poor. The fourth one was a woman who actually wrote ballads and stories to make a living. And then the fifth one was a prostitute fully, but it's simplification. It's easier to think about how awesome Jack the Ripper is if you don't think about the people that are being stabbed to death. If they're just some nameless prostitute on the street, under a lamplight or something in the fog, all cliche style, you don't have to think about the implication. But if you think about it as, this was a woman who was in her 50s that was struggling with alcoholism, who had 3 kids and really, really wanted to beat that problem, but then didn't, you might start thinking of someone you know, and this becomes a lot less fun real fast.
Mm-hmm. And one more question someone has here. Who would you say is the scariest serial killer?
You see, all these murderers are terrible human beings. That's a constant, but I had to boil it down to the ones where I don't even want to freaking look at them. It's someone I already wrote about and someone I will never write about. There was the one I wrote about was Elizabeth Bathory, the famous Hungarian countess.
Mm-hmm.
That lady was absolutely terrible. She was torturing children to death for freaking like months on end in the most gruesome ways I'm not even gonna get into, which She has a weird cultural legacy too, since every female vampire is inspired by her. Up into, my freaking favorite character of this year, Lady Domitresque, is a freaking inspiration of Bathory, and that character gets a lot less sexy and fun if you start thinking about like, wielding hot irons and like stabbing like children in the privates. That's the person I've written about. The person I'm never gonna write about, and I recommend nobody Google, was in the 70s. There was a guy named Lawrence Bittaker who was like a guy in a truck that would pick up like teenagers and then torture them for hours on a freaking like playable recorder sets, and then eventually kill them. That guy. That guy is the worst human being I think I maybe have ever read about. The transcripts for those tapes are on the internet, and I really recommend not really even reading those. The tape's actually owned by the FBI. It's famously used to apparently desensitize people. The judge in that trial was the one who sentenced Manson, and even he said this guy was about 20 times worse. The presiding officer in that trial actually committed suicide because of how bad he was. This guy. I briefly show a photo of him in the video, and I even felt bad doing that. He thankfully died. Thankfully, he died in 2019 at the age of like 78, but not soon enough, in my opinion. That guy's probably the worst when it comes to like a person who was alive recently.
Yeah, I understand that. And I think with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast.
One last thing, which is,
sorry,
there is one more animated aspect of the video I forgot to mention, which is, I don't show any gory photos because, that's how this guy wanted these women to be remembered. So I got around that by using the effect from the TV show. You've seen BoJack Horseman, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, a little bit.
Well, there's a scene later on in the series where like BoJack's like reminiscing about a friend, but he's just so plastered he can't even remember their face. So it's like this like never-ending circle of lines over their face where it's like you just can't see their face, and the broken memory is the point that's making. And that's I'm making this video. Actually, it was briefly shown in the video clip you shown. Like when there's a sketch of like the body, I'm not showing their face. I'm not showing anything. I'm just that. You're not seeing this. This is not how memory should be working. You're gonna see sketches of the people or photographs if they exist. Not the way they were, not the way they were seen by the person who took their life.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And the last thing I'm gonna say is remember their names, not the person who killed them. There's a reason why at the end of the video I end with a famous song called I Vow to Thee My Country, which is a song that was played at Princess Diana's funeral, because there's a point I make in the video that we love to talk about the monarchs, and we love them, and the military soldiers who fell in World War I. You'll see endless parades about them, and they deserve it. You'll never hear anyone say, oh, I'm so sorry that this person got murdered. Up and even till now, you'll still find that people just go, oh, a woman got murdered in the East End. Whatever.
I mean, yeah, and even a controversial example, like just recently, everybody is talking about the whole Kyle Rittenhouse case, and like nowadays, a lot of people know who Kyle Rittenhouse is, but good luck trying to find someone who actually knows the name of the two victims that died by Kyle Rittenhouse.
Actually, worst example is that no one can remember the incident that led to the shooting, which was Jacob Blake being shot. No one remembers that aspect.
That is true. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, that we do live in a society where the murderers get more fame and attention and sometimes more glory, more so than the victims do.
Yep, it's kind of always been that way. Like, actually, when it comes to true crime, the only person I can say the victim's better known than the murderer is just Black Dahlia. But then that's a similar story. Everyone's like, oh yeah, that sexy lady who wanted to be an actress and was maybe a prostitute. No, she was just like a wayward homeless child. They didn't know where she was in life, and everyone's making her out to be something more sexy than what it was. So it's just a problem you see all the time. And at the end, I may as well I want to come to the screen and just grab you people and just go, remember these people, please. I had a grandmother who had a drinking problem. She reminds me a lot of when I read about Polly Nichols was her name, the first victim. It's like, they're fundamentally good people that had problems that could have maybe gotten over it or needed help, but never got it and never will. And that's utterly depressing that everyone wants to talk about a murderer who stabbed them and not society for maybe causing this to happen in some ways, not creating the murderer, but just the situations where these people could be out on the streets.
No, that is a good point. So,
and their name and the names, I have to mention the name. The names of the 5 women who were not Jack the Ripper, whose name does not matter, is Marianne Polly Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Kate Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. Those names you should remember, not whoever the hell your favorite suspect is, or even the name Jack the Ripper. The name of Jack the Ripper is even fake to begin with. It was just something made up nonsense by a journalist written to make money. So remember them, not him.
Yeah, and I think those are nice words to go and conclude this episode. So, Tyler, thank you so much for joining me on this. It definitely was a wild ride, but definitely a blast.
Oh, yeah.
So, anything else that you would like to plug in before we go?
Oh, I'll plug in the next video I'm working on right now currently, because it actually ties into the whole serial killer thing, because as I mentioned in the video, I briefly mentioned just how people say Jack the Ripper's the first serial killer. That statement is hilariously untrue. So when we were finished up editing that video, which that video was supposed to come out in October, but it came out in November because it was just so long and it's dragged on. We started thinking, me and my editor, well, why don't we make a video about who actually is the first recorded serial killer? And that's gone in some interesting directions.
Okay.
Don't know when that's going to come out, but it's like, going back to like ancient China, Rome, Greece, Ireland, what would be Germany one day. All these people that are just well beyond popularity and just reach the point of person you might find as like a trivia question of, oh, this famous murderer or this person. And the oldest person I found that I can trust via primary sources was a woman from the 1300s in Ireland who was accused of witchcraft, but upon further reflection looks more like she was poisoning people.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. And I might try to get some of the voice actors back. Maybe I'll try to get the lady I worked with from Resident Evil, because she's just so nice that I think someone asked earlier who she was. No, she wasn't Lady D. She was Mia Winters, which means she was in RE7 and 8. Katie O'Hagan's her name. Great lady. Super nice. I actually just emailed her and she said, hey, you want to do this role? And she said, absolutely. I love that attitude.
Nice.
So, yeah. The next video, it's history's first serial killer. And that one, obviously, will still be not saying these people are great. There's going to be no reverential treatment towards the murderers. Just more of a breakdown of these people have always existed. They always will, unfortunately. But at least we'll know where it started, technically.
Exactly. So I think with that said, that should do it for this episode. And Tyler, thanks again for joining me on this. And thank you all for joining me on this fun little adventure. Let's hope we could do this again next week. And with all that said, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.
Fare thee well.